Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast with your host, Cody Jansen.
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Cody Jansen, and welcome to a legendary episode of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, episode 25, presented by CST Tires. 25 is significant. As many of you know, that's my career number, so it's only right that we do something special for this episode. How about by welcoming on the winningest rider in ATV racing history to our podcast? 8-time champ, Gary Denton. So stoked about that. It's also fitting that we eclipsed 1 million total downloads heading into our 25th episode. We'll never forget that. You guys absolutely rock. We say it every week, and I'll say it again. It continues to be an unprecedented and crazy time in the world right now. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused plenty of stress and uncertainty in our lives. Our hope is to offer you some positivity and distraction amid the current climate of the COVID-19 pandemic. If you're a regular listener, you know we've been preaching optimism here at the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, and now that optimism has turned into clarity. We are officially going racing. A plan is in place for the ATV Motocross Nationals to begin in Georgia at Aonia Pass MX on May 23rd and 24th. This event was previously scheduled for Ironman, so mark that down as it's just over 2 weeks away. We'll see you down in Georgia. Next week on the podcast, we'll get you up to speed heading into the resumption of the ATVMX season. Awesome news there. Cannot wait to go racing. You guys know the drill. We'll get right into our featured guest. But first, let's thank all the incredible sponsors that make this show possible. Thanks to our title sponsor, CST Tires, CSTTires.com. The Pulse MXR tire is the best tire on the market no matter what the terrain. Join the CST takeover today or prepare to be beat by someone who did. CST Tires, where passion meets the ground. Thank you to Motorsports Powerhouse and show sponsor, Yamaha. We are proud to be partnered with the winningest manufacturer of the past decade in ATV motocross and the #1 OEM supporter of ATV racing. The Digging Deep ATVMX podcast is Team Blue Crew. Thank you, Yamaha. Check them out at YamahaOutdoors.com. Thanks to another member of Racing Royalty and longtime sponsor of my personal racing efforts, Valvoline. For over 150 years, Valvoline has been dedicated to innovating and improving your driving and riding experience. The world's oldest oil company still leads the charge with unrivaled products and lubricants. Thanks to Team Valvoline for coming on board. Thank you to SSI Decals. SSI Decals was a key contributor to Team USA's winning efforts at the Quad Cross of Nations, Joel Hetrick's 2019 Pro title, my national championship last season, as well as Chad Wienen's program that tasted victory in Daytona. Simply put, SSI Decals is the choice of champions everywhere. Their track record speaks for itself. Champions choose SSI Decals for unmatched look and quality. Thanks to those guys. Check them out today at SSIDecals.com. It's an absolute honor to be partnered with Wienen Motorsports. We all know him as one of the toughest competitors in ATV motocross, and Chad Wienen has built a great business within the industry as well. The same products he handpicked to help him win 6 AMA ATV Pro National Championships are also available to you through Wienen Motorsports. Simply put, he races what he sells. So head over to wienenmotorsports.com to see everything they have to offer and use promo code DIGDEEP to save at checkout. Thanks to Chad Wienen and Wienen Motorsports for further legitimizing everything we're doing here at Digging Deep. It's an absolute honor. Thank you to DID Racing Chain and their 520 ATV2 X-Ring chain. Team USA, Joel Hetrick, and myself trusted DID's unrivaled chain quality all the way to championship victory this past season. Wherever you go, go with DID. We are proud to be partnered with Gripped Gloves. Gripped is an ATV rider owned and operated brand with the rider in mind and keeping costs affordable the goal. This Michigan-based family operation recognizes riders' desire to showcase their identity with eccentric colorways and crazy patterns, something not often found in the work of big manufacturers. Here to push stereotypes and limitations, Gripped is driven to produce a glove with cool colors and designs that won't break the bank. Get a grip on life. Check them out today at grippedgloves.com. That's GRIPT gloves.com and use discount code DIGGINGDEEP10 to save. Thank you, Namura Technologies. Namura, pistons with an attitude. Namura has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market since 2001 with their wide array of pistons, rings, gaskets, and industry-leading top-end repair kits. Visit your local dealer or online at namura.com. That's Namura.com. Also, a big thanks to Bronco ATV and UTV components. Bronco has been the industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. Whether it's electrical components, engine internals like rods and cylinders, suspension parts, or bearing kits, Bronco is your hard part source when it comes to whatever you need for whatever you ride. BroncoATV.com. Thanks to Forworks Carbon for their continued support. Known for their hoods, seat covers, array of carbon parts, and so much more, Forworks is your one-stop shop to give your ATV a new and improved look with increased function for 2020. New year, new look with Forworks Carbon. Head over to their social media pages or website today, thanks to Forworks Carbon. Thanks as always to Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant. Upgrade to Evans now to avoid overheating and boilover next time you hit the track. When conditions are at their worst, Evans is at its best. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP20 to save at checkout, evanscoolant.com. Thanks to DP Brakes, the unquestioned leader in motorsports and power sports braking. DP is the brand responsible for allowing Joel Hedrick, myself, and so many others to outbreak the competition every time we hit the racetrack. It's not too late to join the team, so act fast. www.dp-brakes.com. Thanks to Blenders Eyewear, whose Life and Forward Motion brand is the perfect fit to partner with our podcast. You won't find better shades for a more attractive price anywhere else. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP20 to save on the trendiest shades on the market. BlendersEyewear.com. Thanks to Oats Overnight. Life is hard. Make breakfast easy. Simply combine with milk before bed and enjoy your to-go breakfast in the morning. Overnight oatmeal loaded with superfoods, perfect for athletes. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP10 to save at checkout. OatsOvernight.com. Thanks to Mountaineer Brand. If you know me, you know I love my beard. That's why I treat it right with Mountaineer Brand's all-natural washes, oils, balms, and more. Use discount code CODY'sFave in all caps, that's CODYSFAV, Cody's Fave, at mountaineerbrand.com. Thanks to Avocado Green Mattresses. We all know that sleep and rest are an important part of any athlete's routine. Avocado's line of natural mattresses provides exactly the support you need to ensure you perform at the best while doing the best for the planet. The Avocado mattress offers zone back support with an internal support unit, meaning whether you're recovering from a hard day of riding or relaxing on a Sunday morning, you will be experiencing next level comfort. With a 100-night sleep trial, free shipping and return pickups, and a 25-year warranty, getting your Avocado Green mattress could not be any easier. Step up your sleep game by visiting avocadomattress.com. We are also proud to be partnered with Factory 43. Factory 43 was born in 2007, making Nerf bars for the Suzuki LTR, Honda TRX 450R, and Yamaha's YFZ 450. The brand soon added bumpers and grab bars, and now having had parts available for all sports quads for years. The racer-owned company strives to offer a quality product that installs easy, looks good, and holds up over time. For 2020, Factory 43 is the aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing Honda team, providing riders like Joel Hedrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Chris Borich, and Grayson Eller with the motocross and cross-country versions of their Evo Nerf bar and MX-style bumpers. Head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of products. Thanks to Factory 43 for coming on board. We are also proud to announce our newest show sponsor, Bikes, Trikes, and Quads, LLC. Celebrating their 10-year anniversary this month, the company was started by former racers selling three-wheeler parts out of a barn in upstate New York. Through hard work, accompanied by offering great service to their customers, BTQ LLC now has over 40,000 new and used parts in stock. But they haven't forgotten their roots, still offering used OEM parts for three-wheelers, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides. Parts are in stock and ready to ship with delivery within 3 days, including free shipping on orders over $50. Use discount code ATVMX at www.btqllc.com for $10 off orders of $50 or more. We're grateful to have Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC digging deep with us. Support our industry's small businesses during this difficult time. Thank you to BTQ LLC. And finally, you know what's coming. We are proud of our partnership with Roman Health. On average, how many days would you guess that the average American has to wait to see a doctor? The average is 29 days. Americans are forced to wait 29 days on average to see a doctor in major U.S. cities. If you're dealing with a condition like erectile dysfunction, you want treatment ASAP. That's why our friends at Roman have spent years building a digital platform to connect you with a licensed doctor in your state from the comfort of your own home. Roman makes it convenient to get the treatment you need on your schedule. Just grab your phone or computer, complete a free online visit, and you'll hear back from a U.S. licensed physician within 24 hours. If the doctor decides that treatment is right for you, Roman's Pharmacy will ship your medication to you for free with 2-day shipping at no cost to you. You also get free unlimited follow-ups with your doctor anytime you have questions or want to adjust your treatment plan. There are no commitments and you can cancel anytime with Roman. So if you're struggling with ED, go to getroman.com/digging for your free online visit and free 2-day shipping. That's getroman.com/digging for your free online visit and free 2-day shipping. From our new partners to our original sponsors, thanks for supporting the #1 podcast in ATV racing and for making this dream a reality for both us and our listeners. We pride ourselves in partnering with only the best brands inside and outside of the industry, so better your riding experience and your lifestyle by supporting the sponsors who support us. If you enjoy the show, the best thing you can do is support our partners. And if you're interested in becoming a partner of the show, shoot me a message or email today for more details. We are running a special partnership rate to assist small businesses during these tough times, so now is the time to get on board at a cheaper rate to keep your brand relevant during this downtime. Message or email us today. Once again, thanks to all of our sponsors. Gary Denton is like Led Zeppelin. Everyone knows Stairway to Heaven, but the older generation knows the words to every single one of their songs. Every ATV racing fan knows the name Gary Denton, but that may be all that the younger generation knows about the 8-time champ. Well, everyone who was around in the 80s and 90s has a story to tell about him. No matter where you fall on the spectrum, this one is for you. This is the Gary Denton story. Enjoy. And now, brought to you by DID Racing Chain and their 520 ATV2 X-Ring chain, it's an honor to be joined by the winningest rider in professional ATV racing, 8-time champ, Gary Denton. It's a pleasure to have you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Cody. Glad to be a guest on your show, be a part of it.
Man, now I'd be remiss if I didn't start by commenting on the state of the world right now. I hope that you and those closest to you are safe and healthy during these strange times. I'm hopeful of that.
Well, yes, we are. Our family's all good, and we're trying to do the best we can to do our part. And it is odd. It's like Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But great to hear. Great to hear that everything is good on the home front for you. Same here. So definitely we're grateful for that. So Gary, I have to say this is a dream come true for me because I've been wanting to get you on the show since we first started this podcast. The individuals who are old enough to remember your reign of dominance are still enamored by you to this day. But no matter your age, if you're a fan of ATV racing, you know that Gary Denton was an 8-time champ. But that's probably all that my younger listeners know about you. So point being, everybody wants to hear from you. I know you got a great story to tell. I'm excited to kind of sit back, hear about your racing career, and I guess learn more about Gary Denton. So it's just, again, it's just an honor to have you, and I can't wait for what's ahead here.
Sure, no problem at all. I mean, obviously my career didn't start out in ATV racing. It started out in motocross, and I started riding at the early age of 14, and probably riding before then, 12 or so, racing at 14, almost 15, and within a year and a half I was a pro. And I live in Southern California, and it was the hotbed of motocross racing. So every weekend you'd line up against the best guys. Once I get into the pro class, and within a year and a half I was there, and you're racing against guys like Brock Glover, Bob Hanna. I mean, the list goes on. The best in the world, Marty Smith. God bless Marty. Thoughts for him and Nancy. They just passed. I don't know if you've heard that, but
yes, of course.
It's just awful. I just talked to Marty 2 months ago at a Carlsbad reunion. He was very well grounded. He was very happy. He had just finally retired, and him and his wife just wanted to take the buggy out and hang out with the grandkids and go camping and RVing. And I'm a big RV guy, so him and I talked for 15, 20 minutes. So God bless him and Nancy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's terrible, but I guess it's the one thing that we can take away from it is that we got to live our lives to the fullest, just like he did, and be grateful for the days that we do have here. So, and he was doing what he loved to do, just like any of us would want to do until the very end. So,
absolutely, he was pumped. I mean, he was excited about the future of RVing and cruising in the buggy. So I'm sure he's up in heaven doing that now.
Yeah.
But back to the story at hand, I raced motocross, so it was tough. I mean, you lined up against Brock Glover, you lined up against whoever, and these guys are time champions now. But And back in the day, there were kids coming up also, and
Yeah.
so bang the bars with a lot of those guys.
Right. I mean, that's the crazy part that you want people to wrap their head around is you are in, like you said, the hotbed for motocross at the time and still to this day. But so it's not like, you're, racing pro at a young age, in some other place. Like you're racing at where you're forced to race against the cream of the crop, which is crazy. So, so you told us how fast it happened. So I guess take us through those early days of your professional, motorcycle career, because I know you had some highlights, some top fives. I think, what was it? One top five, like
Yes.
13 or something top tens, but you, in previous conversations between you and I, you hinted that the stats don't tell the whole story there either.
No, they don't. Here's the thing. In the 70s, the bikes were a little bit different, closer. In the 80s, they were not. They were more pronounced, meaning that bikes were really light. They're 160, 170 pounds, and they were 5 to 7 seconds a lap faster than a production-based bike. They just were. I mean, take a 170-pound bike, and I'm racing a 215-pound bike. That's a big difference. And
Oh, yeah.
so, just quite a bit of horsepower just in the weight factor, let alone whipping around in suspension. But going back a little bit, I turned pro in a year and a half. First pro race, I won a moto. The night racing was at its height, and I'll kind of try to brace through this because when we talk about ATVs and stuff.
No,
But
this is part of the story, so this is good.
Okay. Well, and so I go out, and I'm racing against Mike Bell that was there that night, racing Irwindale, legendary night racing. And night racing, we could in California, we race 5 days a week. Race Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Of course,
so
yeah.
The racing was crazy. And so anyway, first pro race, the first moto, I'm in third, and I could have got a third, but the extra laps, I went off the track thinking it was checkered flag, so I got like a 12th. The next moto, I win, and the third moto, I'm battling for the whole shot, and I crash over this jump. There was a big rut at the peak of the jump, and made a little mistake, hit it, and it pitched me sideways, and guys landed on me, and pretty much half the pack. There was 23 guys or something like that. Woke up in the ambulance, broke my hip, bruised my spleen, and I got, I was anemic. So it took me, I don't know, quite a while to get back to health. And back then they didn't have the medical that they, basically the technology. So it took me a while to get back to, proper health, meaning I was racing probably 2 months later, but I won a pro race a few months later and had to really learn how to train and ride or train and condition to be able to ride that motorcycle. So then we fast forward, we get to 78. I'm winning everything local. I go back east to last nationals, and man, I introduced myself to humidity, and humidity was like, wow. I mean, I got a second in the heat, and the first moto came. I came from 12th to 6th, and I was really fast at that time. And I'm up 6th place, and I just start to fade. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what it was, and I was in the in the condition of my life, yet it wasn't adjusted to humidity.
Sure, because
So,
you're used to that dry heat out there.
Yeah, we were in St. Joe, Missouri.
Yeah, and that's the area of the country that's very, very humid.
Yeah, so anyway, I come back and I just pull off the track, and my buddies were wrenching on Jim Harris, friend of mine. He says, "What happened?" He goes, "What's wrong?" And I go, "It's season." He starts to work on the bike. I couldn't admit that I couldn't even finish the race. And he comes back. I go, "Jim, come here." And he comes back. I didn't want anybody to know. I was embarrassed. And I go, "Hey, I don't know what's wrong. I about passed out." And then we started looking around, and a lot of the works riders had to go to the hospital. It was that humid and that hot. Nobody was used to that. But that's okay. I learned from there. The next weekend, I think we raced 2 weekends later, and I got a 6th at Raleigh, North Carolina. They had a race there, and that was pretty darn good against the best in the world, or in the nation anyway, probably the world at that time. And then, I think another week and a half or so, we went to St. Pete, and I had the first moto won by, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds, near 40 seconds, and 3.5 laps to go. And I rode a Suzuki, and the mainsail leaked, and it fried the rod. I was so disgusted I didn't ride the second moto, but it got me an LOP ride. So the next year I rode Yamahas, and I could have got a factory ride that year, but the bike broke. So I went back for the last half of the Nationals, rode the first half, hated the bikes, just didn't like them. They didn't agree with me. And I was a Suzuki guy more than a Yamaha guy at the time. And Lorenz Offner of LOP Racing said, "Hey, I've got some cool parts." And he gave me some better stuff. And we went back there. In the first race, I was out of shape and didn't do very well, 20th or something. Second race, I was I was battling in the top 5 with Barnett and, Marin Wardy and all those guys. But I got a flat tire. They had this huge jump. And then the second moto, it broke the wheel at the same jump. So, I don't know if the mechanic was doing his job, but that happens. And so I usually, later in life, I surrounded myself with better people. But anyway, it doesn't make the guy a bad person, just not a great mechanic.
Right.
But so then we went to Binghamton, New York, and I broke a chain the first lap, another mechanical, which shouldn't have happened. And second moto, I worked my way up from, I don't know, 6th or 7th all the way to 3rd or 4th. And the chain fell off. The tensioner was too loose. It wasn't even bolted on right. The last race, the bike stayed together, and I think I got 4th overall at St. Pete. St. Pete in the sand. So I could have, and Richie Kuhn and Ron Son got factory rides, and I was beating those guys at that time. So I could have go to work. So they both kind of worked Honda rides. So,
okay.
But now what I'm going to go in and get into is, talking about works bikes later. So that's 79, and then 80, I broke my wrist. Navicular was out 6 months. I broke my shoulder, had to have it operated on. So I was out another 3 months. So I'm pretty much a throwaway year in 1980. I didn't ride any of the nationals other than maybe one.
Okay.
So
do you ever, before you even go on any farther, do you ever think like if things would have just been a little different and some of these fluke crazy mechanicals and all this stuff? I mean, think about your whole career path could have been different. I'm sure.
Yes, no, it could have been, but things happen for a reason. The man above, he's got a plan for us all, right? So
right. No, I don't think you'd change anything.
No,
but it's just it is crazy how it's like the stars may have aligned. What's that saying where you never know what he's got planned for you, right? So as you're going through this, it's got to be like, man, I can't catch a break, but there was a golden egg or whatever out there.
Well, if I backtrack a little bit, the night racing was really premium goal for me. So I did. CMC they would have 600 riders on a weekend or a weeknight or something. It was crazy. So, but the night racing was big.
Okay.
And you could make $150 on a Friday night, which, you're going in the 70s. That's big money. It's probably like making about $2,000 or $3,000 on
exactly.
In these times. So I won the night nationals in 1976, and I beat the field by probably a quarter of a lap as some of the best in the country. So I was happy with that. That was my first big goal.
Sure.
And then it was outdoors was the next goal. And of course, 78 almost won a national. And then, I had some, bike issues, and then I got hurt in 80, and then 81 came. So now I'm 81. Now I've got back on Suzuki's, and I'm healed up, and I just want to finish. So I ride the nationals, and I'm racing with, there's like that year, there's 12 works bikes, 12 factory works bikes. Now, people don't really, at that point in time, works bikes were, like I said, they were in that 5 to 7 second a lap range. And you say, well, how do you know that? Well, because George Holland and Scotty Burnworth, I could beat them on a production-based bike at Carlsbad or at Saddleback, not always, but we'd bang bars and switch motos, that kind of thing. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, they'd be on a full works bike. I would never see them again. So
now
there you go.
That's fact. Yeah. So tell, I'm a diehard dirt bike follower, but tell my ATV listeners what a works bike is, because it's basically like handmade, hand built for you.
Well, I'm racing a bike that weighs 210, 215. They're racing a bike that weighs 160, 170. The suspension handles like I can't imagine. I mean, they were playing with, back then we probably had 8 or 10 inches suspension. They got 14 or 15. I don't know, but they were playing with all kinds of crazy stuff. The power on the bike is so phenomenal. I mean, I could hole shot I remember hole shot at Carlsbad one time, and like 3 or 4 turns later, Barnett goes by on one side and Holland goes by on the other, works Suzuki's, and they blow by me like I went in the corner slow or something. And I did not. I went in perfect. I wasn't tired. I was good. We're riding 45-minute motos back then. Those were
I know.
When men were men. I mean, come on.
Right.
So you kind of get an idea. And that year, to give you an idea, Rick Johnson, that was his rookie year, but he's on a works bike of some sort. They say it's production, but it has all this work stuff all over it. And the guy that finishes is actually top production bike was privateer was Magoo. So Danny gets 9th. I get 10th. Danny goes on works Hondas the next year and kills everybody. Now I'm not telling you as fast as Danny, but but the fact was I was right there with him. So
And the fact was is that you were kind of always doing it with a little bit of the deck stacked against you. You know,
yes,
you were always kind of like that top guy who wasn't on that works equipment. So I wanted to
yeah,
make sure that the listener
yeah.
knows what you're saying, because I mean, I've heard it said that those works bikes are sometimes almost to the you know, the viewer, it's almost unrecognizable to the production bike it's based off of, right? So I mean, I just wanted them to know how big of the difference is.
They need to understand they've outlawed that. So they have to be production frames and all this stuff.
Yes.
They had so many special parts on these bikes. They were all handmade. And so, you know, it was a different time. Now, to go back, to be fair to Danny, you know, Magoo he was riding a RM125 like I was, 1981 RM125. So it's production based. We had the same motor builder, suspension guy, which was Paul Thede at Racetech. Paul's a friend of mine.
Yes.
They
Okay.
were,
Yeah.
so Paul built a really bitchin' bike for us, and Danny wanted the same thing, and Danny was just faster. But like I said, you know, when you go and look at it, Danny went on and waxed the world. I mean, he won designations and, you know, MX designations and trophy designations. He won all 4 motos, first time ever and only time ever done.
I was just
So,
gonna say, you're talking about legends. You're not
yeah,
talking. I mean, the biggest
yeah.
names in the sport.
Yeah. So I'm happy, but it's hard to go out and get 8th, 9th, 10th when, you know, you're winning local races and you line up with all these, I don't know, these monsters. The riders are incredible, but the machines are even more incredible in some cases. So,
Right.
you know, when you look at it, or just as or more, however you want to state it. But then the next year I get 7th, I get top privateer and 125 nationals. That's 1982. And guess who gets 6th? That's Bob Hanna.
Oh, wow.
And Bob goes and gets on works Hondas the next year and wins everything. The only reason why I didn't win titles, he got hurt. But Bob was just phenomenal fast. So, you know, the Yamahas weren't as good as the Hondas, but they were better than my production Suzuki, you know. And Bob, once again, not saying I'm as fast as Bob. He's a stud. But I was right there. You got 6, I got 7. You know, so there you go.
You had to just feel like you were always on the cusp of getting one of those opportunities, though.
I was close, and you know what? I won a lot of races, but they just weren't nationals.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's like you said. I think you know, there's always a plan. So it all worked out. So let's keep that progression going. Then what year are we up to now? 83.
So we're 83. I get calls and I get offered bikes and parts. 82. I got monies and I got bikes and parts from Suzuki. They're really good to me.
Okay.
And then, you know, Mitch Payton offers me a pro circuit ride, and I love Mitch. Mitch's a good guy. Just got to talk to him this year at the Supercross. But the reality, we're buddies. But the reality is I don't even know how he did it. I mean, he had those Huskies. They were like 180s, and you know, Mitch made a business out of it. I mean, think about it. He transcended from that to what he does today, pro circuits. You know, one of the legendary, you know, performance shops.
Sure
so
is. Yeah.
Good for him. But back then, I mean, he offered me $35 a week and to ride a bike that was subpar. I just couldn't do it to myself, you know.
Yeah.
And so I wrote it, and I go, no. And it was nothing against Mitch. I like Mitch, but
people, yes, you're on to something, because people in the know I've heard it said that they can't believe that program back then on subpar bikes turned into the pro circuit Kawasaki that you think of now. That's like the standard.
Well, it's a tribute to Mitch. I mean, you know, him and I talked about how small this. We were just talking about this year. It was just cool.
Okay.
And I said, I'm proud of you. I mean, and he moved from Anaheim out to Corona, where you know, it was quite a ways away at the time. It's not now. It's pretty close to here, Chino, where I live.
Okay.
And there wasn't anything out there. It was boonies, and it's premium property now. You know, and he owns 2 big, large, you know, shops, tilt ups, and God bless him. You know.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Cool story. Cool story.
Yeah, very cool. So
now
got
it's
an offer.
So it's 83. I get that offer. Then I get another offer from Kawasaki, and I can't remember the manager. One of the guys are there. I have a lot of good friends at Cali, but it was some knucklehead that worked there, and he said he got really mad at me because he wanted to give me bikes and parts, and if I performed, now listen to this one, then I'll give you monies. And I said, I'm not a maybe F rider. You know, what are you talking about? You know,
right?
Like, I wanted to go to the Nationals and with nothing, and so. Usually when you get a top privateer ride, you go on to works bikes, you know, like Magoo did in 81. And
that's
and
the progression. Yeah.
That's generally it. But I was 24 at the time, and they were hiring other riders. I think they hired Ricky Ryan, and I lapped Ricky in a lot of those events. And Ricky did win Daytona. He won it in the mud, and he was a good rider. But
Okay.
at the time I was quite a bit faster, I thought. But they hired a younger rider. That's what Suzuki's position was. So,
Okay.
things happen. I don't hold it. It's just the way it is. It's just telling it, how it is. But
Of course, yeah.
and it's fine. But then I just decided I'm not going on the national. I'm not doing them. I'm just going to go hang out, ride local races. I'll have to find something to do for work because this is not working. And even after riding the nationals, I had about $7 or $8 grand in the bank, which is the most money I had ever. But I went on to a works ride. All no harm, no foul, cool, right?
Yep.
But I wanted to go make money, and so Paul Thied gave me a job working for him, taking apart and put together shocks at Race Tech. And Paul's a good friend, and he had done my motors, all my stuff. And so I was working for him and riding arena crosses. I'd go up to Canada and win those things. And it was kind of cool. And, in racing to get some really good guys and having fun. So that was cool. Arena cross was in the beginning then. So we did that. And then, so that was 83. I rode local. 84, I was riding local. And in 85, I get this phone call from a gentleman by the name of Harry Clem. And Harry Clem did all the DG motors and all this stuff there. And and Harry's a legendary motor builder. He did Rex State and stuff back on the CZ days and all that, going way back, and USGP bikes. And so Harry calls me up. He's an old friend. He says, "Hey, I'm looking for David Taylor," which is another national motocross buddy of mine that was really successful in the nationals, top privateer, stuff like that. And he goes, "I'm looking." I go, "Really?" He goes, "You got his number?" I go, "Yeah." I go, "What's up?" And he goes, "Well, I need somebody. I got these quad racers, and I need somebody to get on one and hole shot. I need a guy that can hole shot these things." He goes, "Well, wait a minute. You know how to start." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You think you can ride one?" I go, "I don't know." And he goes, "Well, why don't you meet me? Why don't we get together?" So by chance, I hook up with Harry Clem, and I'd never ridden one. I'd heard a little bit about him, and so this is 85. So we go out. I want to say it's about the middle, and we'd ride these things, and we go to Corona Raceway, like, I don't know, maybe that night. Maybe I rode that thing that morning, and I'm going to race that night. And we go out there, and you wouldn't believe it. There's like 600, maybe 500 riders on three-wheelers predominantly.
Okay.
A few four-wheelers because it's brand new. Four-wheelers are
exactly
brand new.
Yep.
Our quads are brand new. So they're all three-wheelers, and I'm just blown away because I didn't know anything about it. I went out there. I used to have a bounty on myself. I had bounties on me in motocross days at Irwindale to beat me in the 125 class, $50. Same thing at at Corona. So in my motorcycle days, to beat me, if you can knock him off the track, you get $50. Kind of thing. I'm kidding, but it was a promotional thing for the promoters. But
yeah.
Anyway, here I am now. Fast forward, and here's just all these people. And I see, so we raced the first weekend, and it's kind of cool, and I win the sportsman thing. And so 2 weeks later, I got to ride it again. So I go out and ride the thing, and Jim Putman's going, "Yeah, you got to hang off like this." And he's trying to get me to ride like a three-wheeler, and I'm going, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "I don't know. Okay." And you really got to kind of ride like a motorcycle, but nobody really knew. Everything was so different. So, and I didn't know. I never really ridden it. So I'm riding it, and I'm getting a little faster on it, and I'm just riding it in the mornings and racing it that night kind of thing. So, so we go that night, and I race the sportsman, and I win, and then I ride the pro class, and there's this guy there by the name of Jimmy White. And they're telling me this guy's got all this bitchin' Kawasaki garb and this bitchin' looking Takati or whatever it was, three-wheeler, but this thing sounded like a rocket ship, man. It just had the tone, right? And I'm like, wow. And I'm on a pretty much, Harry's done the motor on this quad, but it's got stock tires, stock everything, shocks, Anyway, so I'm like, wow. And people are telling me, "So that's Jimmy White. Yeah, that's the factory guy. That's that guy." Go, "What's he make a year?" "Well, he make 120 grand a year, 140, I don't know, somewhere in there." Like, whoa. Now I had never made money, so I'm going, wow, I can do that.
Yeah.
I want to do this.
Well, because even the thing about back then, like Jimmy White he was like a legend to everybody. It wasn't even just like three-wheeler following. I mean, it was motorsports in general. Jimmy White's a huge deal. Yeah. So I'm going, and nothing to take away from Jimmy White, but I mean, I just came from the gnarliest scrapping, business I could ever ride in, which is motorcycles, and never made much money. And I'm hungry to make money. I got to go find a job. I'm working. But anyway, so moral of the story. So we in that particular race, I take off and I hole shot, and I think one guy gets by me, and
remember this is the pro class thing, and I'm just Joe Squid jumping on a quad. So anyway, so Jimmy comes in and he's going to pass me, goes on the outside, he's hanging off the thing, and I think, well, you can't get around me. So I just stuck my tire in there, and he flips over, nothing big, but he flips over, and he gets up and he flips me off, and I go, oh man, this guy's big, I got to get out of here. So I take off, and we laughed about it years later, but that's kind of how it all started,
Okay.
So that was with Harry Klim. So now fast forward a little bit. Klim goes to Suzuki. Suzuki says, no, we don't have the budget. And Klim goes, look, if you put Denton on these things, he'd go be the national champion and beat Honda and all this stuff. And they didn't do it. So Honda won that year. That was, or no, they didn't have they had kind of an off title. I think it was one race deal at Porterville or something. That was 85. So 86 comes around, or no, 85 comes around a little bit. I'm sorry, we're still in 85. I'm trying to remember.
Okay.
And Terry Varner is at Race Tech by chance again and says, and I'm working there, and he says, hey, I go, what's up? He goes, I just got, came into some money. I got an inheritance. And he goes, I'm going to buy a couple of dirt bikes and go sponsor Ron Turner or something. And Ron Turner's a legendary motocrosser. And so, and a friend. And so I go, why are you going to do that? I go, you got this quad thing, man. I go, you know how to build motors? He goes, yeah. I go, this thing's, I tell him how many people. He goes, no way. And I go, yeah. So we start looking into it. I don't know if we went to an event or what. He goes, well, I could buy you a couple of quads. And he goes, can you win? I go, yeah, I can win. I go, you know how to do motors? He goes, yeah, I can build motors. Sure. And I go, well, let's go do it. So we did. So Terry Bonner sponsored, buys me 2 quads, practice bike, race bike. And we start coming up with those innovative ideas, and we started racing them. And we started winning. We went to Mickey's, and I think the first one we went to was a Mickey Thompson over in San Bernardino. And I got a third. I whole shotted, but I wasn't in shape. And I don't know, we had big tires on it and some other things. And
sure.
And so then the next event was about 3-4 weeks away, and I'm training and I'm riding and I'm training riding, and we come up with those little hardline tires. Actually, Greg Clark was using them. And so Terry gets these tires, they little Pirellis, I think at the time, and he carves them up, and we go to the Coliseum, and I end up getting my first big win. I mean, it was just, and the rest is history. I just continued to win from there. I was like on fire. It was, it was just fun. I was doing things that I'd never done before. I was now in all the magazines. I'm making great money, and I was on TV. Yeah, and those are all the things you want in moto. And
that's what I was just gonna say. Yeah, that was your light at the end of the tunnel. You were feeling like you were getting so close. You went 2 wheels. All of a sudden, you find yourself in the 4-wheel side, this new side of the sport, and you're getting everything that you wanted. But it started with by mistake. That's the craziest part.
Yeah. And so, we do that deal. So that was 85. And then in 86, I started getting bikes and parts. Suzuki puts me on the nationals, partners doing the motors. I win 3 nationals and I break 3 nationals. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I didn't win the title that year, I think I ended up 2nd or 3rd, but we, breaking down 3 nationals out of, I can't remember if it seemed like it was 6 or 7 events, but something like, I don't know. But,
and that 86 would have been the first year of the 4-wheel national championship.
Yeah. And Rodney Gentry won that year.
Yep.
So Rodney, so Rodney wins, I want to say Stevie Wright gets 2nd, and, we won some really cool events. I mean, there was one year where Honda sponsored the event, and, it was pretty crazy too. What I didn't realize, a rivalry between Suzuki and Honda fans, I mean, there were your Honda fans and hardcore, and the Suzuki fans hardcore, and probably the same in Kawasaki, but not so much in ATV 4-wheel class. And,
right.
So the quad class was crazy. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, and you can finish that thought before you answer this, but I wanted to ask, how was ATV racing received at the time? Because it's such a new endeavor. I wanted to know, were ATVs the outcast, or was everybody coexisting? Was it viewed as this new futuristic thing? When ATV racing was new, how was it received?
Well, my moto buddies all called them chairs and, couches. And,
so that hasn't changed.
Yeah. Well, no, they were calling them that, so, but here's, I can tell you some funny stuff. So one time, this is 87, and, I'm on the factory team, but we'll go back to that a little bit, how that transitioned. But we're all at Mammoth, and you got Doug Dubach, Mike Byer, Mike Byer, Doug Dubach are, legendary motocross riders, the Mannings, and a few other guys. And we're all renting a condo, and I'm in the kitchen making some cereal, and they're going, moto is not that good right now. It's hard to get a ride, and this and that. And it's before Doug got his works ride.
Okay.
They're all sitting there, and there's probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them around whining, and they always give me crap. But I'm up there practicing on a dirt bike, right? Because I love practicing on them, and I love both sports,
Yeah,
and so,
of course.
So it's so funny. So they're there, and I go, this ATV thing sure is working out for me. I go making big bucks on TV every week. And they're going, screw you. I mean, but I always jab them as much as I can. And I can tell you, I beat some really fast motocross riders at Glen Helen National Track. Now, is a quad as fast as a dirt bike? No. I mean, I had this conversation with Steve over at Pulp MX, and no, it's not. But on certain days, it's better.
No doubt.
Yeah.
That's what we argued on some of these shows with Jeffrey Rastrelli and Joel Hetrick. I mean, the track condition is a very key part of this whole argument here.
Well, if there's not, the tires don't have the circumference, meaning they're not as large. So if you have really tall jumps, peak jumps, the bike will stay low to the ground, whereas the quad will go straight up and down. So in an aspect, but I can tell you, Doug Dubach was the fastest at the time out there at Glen Helen. I was a half second off his time, right behind him every lap. The only reason he was faster is because the quad, they had these 6 whoops. He could go 3-3 and he was out of them. I had to go 2-2-2. And so because I had to do that, that was the half a second a lap.
Oh,
so Doug and I went to the back track and I waxed him. And he didn't want to admit it. And I go, I beat you. I go, you're too slow. I think I'm going to have to come back and ride motorcycles, because he's a buddy. I mean, I gave Doug Dubach start lessons back in the day because Paul Thede asked me to. And I've known Doug forever. But the point is, I got to a point where I could be out there testing Mike Chamberlain, pro circuit split fire racer back in the day. I don't know if you remember that name.
I sure do. Yep, I sure do.
I would pass him, wave him by, repass him, wave him by, just for good faith, and Matt Tedder, he was a CMC #1 rider. Pass him, wave him by. He said, please don't tell anybody. Pass him, wave him by. And Mike Preston, he worked for Kawasaki for us, a pro rider. Same thing. Ross Maeda, same thing. I mean, they hated it.
Oh, that's so funny. That's awesome.
And they're sitting there testing, and I come back up and I go, I think I'm going to go back to bikes. You guys are getting slower. I mean, they get so mad. But cool. It's all in having fun. Yep. That's how I look at it. I mean, I talked to Jody Wiesel, I don't know, a few months back, and we were talking about this stuff, and he said, no, there was nobody going to beat you down the lower section. No way. And so if the track's right, is a quad faster than a dirt bike on a motocross track? Generally not. But I had that conversation with Steve again at Pulp MX, and he said, okay, well, we want to know, because we've had this debate, and I didn't know. And anyway, I just said, hey, look, I go, here's the deal. I go, I was just having dinner, and I go, with Rob Bidas and Mike Byer. And I understand that the last event of the year was the Ironman event. Is that correct, Cody? So,
yes,
so that was motocross, bought dirt bikes, and it was motocross quads, right? So, so the quad guys were there, both of them for the last national. And he said the first practice, the quad guys matched the moto guys lap time for lap time. So there you go.
Sure did.
And so he said, well, moto guys can do everything. They can go from moto to ATVs like you. They go moto to TT or flat track like Steve Weiss, and they go, John Michelle Bell went to road race. And I said, well, that's true. They've done some good stuff. I go, but you can't say that, that Chad Wienen or Joel Hetrick couldn't have taken a different path and got on a dirt bike. How do you know? And not won nationals. How do you know?
Exactly. You're preaching to the choir. That's his argument, is that, hey, like, you are his argument on his show. He said, Gary Denton, look at Gary Denton. He was a solid dirt bike guy, but he transitioned to quads. He's the greatest quad guy ever. So he basically was saying any dirt bike guy, decent pro could hop on a quad. And I guess I'm sitting there thinking, okay, first of all, there is such a thing as, hey, you could just be more talented on a quad. Like Gary Denton could have just been, good dirt bike rider, great quad rider, all-time great quad rider. Like, that's an actual thing. His other thing, he can't wrap his head. And I love Steve. I'm a Pulp listener, diehard. Like I've said to my listeners plenty of times, they know, it's never a bashing because I'm diehard Steve fan.
Well, once
But
again,
the thing is that Steve can't wrap his head around that somebody would enjoy riding a quad. It's only a backup plan, which he's so far missing the boat there. I mean, we love ATV racing too. We love motorcycles. We love ATVs too. So I'll let you finish, but I just needed to, it's so good. It's so good.
Well, no. And Steve, and by the way, I want to thank Steve for having me on the show. And I'm not trying to, kick him or anything.
No. Yeah, of course.
But no, he was really good to me. But that's just my thoughts. That's how I feel. And the reality is, when you look at all of it, remember when I got a factory ATV ride, which we'll get into next, those were production bikes, man. They were just production bikes. So there was no titanium on them. There was no special ignition. There was no work cylinders. I mean, this was all production off the shelf stuff.
This is rider. This is when you're doing it to ATV guys, when you're setting yourself apart from the other ATV pack, that's all on rider. And if you would have had, if it wouldn't have been apples to oranges in your dirt bike career, if it would have been apples to apples or oranges to oranges, I feel like you would have, you've just told me that you would have been on a level playing field and had a better chance against those other guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, but racers. I mean, I can tell you that they have a Carlsbad reunion that Scotty Burnworth puts on him and his wife, and you know what, it's cool. And Brock Glover will show up, and Brock, here's a guy who wins 5 titles or something, and he's a good friend. And Brock just complains about the one time I beat him on his OW at Saddleback, and not a national, just a race, And I go, would you stop it, Brock? I mean, but that's how we are as racers, right? We
Golden Boy, yeah, exactly.
So it's good stuff, but no, so for me, then that was 86. We're winning stuff, and I'm making like 50 grand a year. I'm working at Race Tech, making 25, making another 25 racing. I'm happy. I'm making good money. Suzuki comes along and says, hey, we're going to start a factory team. And so they want to pay me, and the people should know the numbers. So they want to pay me 50 grand salary. And if I win the title, it's 30.
Oh my.
And so with all my other sponsors, I'm able to make 100 grand a year because I did win the title. But I'll tell you what, the title wasn't easy to win. I go and I race the race. They're making us race 250 and 500 on the same day.
Okay.
Can you imagine? So you're racing 4 motos.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, it was awful. And Varner built me this fire breathing motor for the 500, and it would not start. I could start in second or third or fourth, or I could gear it differently. And what I didn't realize, I just had too much power. And so I last few nationals, I said, just give me a stock cylinder, will you? And I whole shotted everything, and I won. I think I won the last two TT 500 races, and I didn't race Loretta's, and I'll get to that. So what happens? We're racing in the series, and I'm banging bars with I want to say it was Gentry for the title.
Okay.
And I think Roddy won the 500s that year, but the 250. I'm trying to get around Watts at a TT. We were racing in Iowa, this really fast track, and Watts is holding me up a little bit. He holds shots, and I catch up to him, and I'm trying to get around him, and I make a mistake. I cut a little too close to one of those big, huge tractor tires, and I hit it, and I crash, and I get back up, and I still finish 5th, but I busted my elbow. So this is a gnarly story. So I bust my elbow. I'm in pain. Go back, drink a couple of beers, take some, aspirin, whatever, and wake up next day. My elbow's swollen, so fly home. I go see my doctor, and he goes, "All right, I got you already set up for an orthopedic surgeon." I go, "Whoa, wait a minute! I got to race in 2 weeks." And he goes, no, he goes, you got to get operated. He goes, well, I go, no, you don't understand. I'm going to win $30,000 bonus.
I was just going to say, I got to get this money.
Yeah. So, my national title too. I mean, so first one. And so he goes, well, let me make a call. So he does, and they do some special thing. And I don't know, but it was a different type of surgery. It's a plastic prosthesis, and I still have it into this day. And I raced whatever it was 2 or 3 weeks later, and it was a TT. I think we raced Ohio. I had it won, and the Gentry was all over me because we were lapping riders, and the referee was a moron. I don't know what was wrong with this guy. He would not blue flag the guys. He would not go out there and make a move out of the way. So the riders took me off the track, and Rodney won. I got second. Then we went to Boyd, and I won both 250 and 500, and that wrapped up the title. So I didn't have to ride Loretta's. and it was a moto, luckily, because I don't think I could have rode that. So I was really fortunate, once again, blessed by the man above. And there's another thing that goes with this quad thing too. Surround yourself with good people.
Yeah.
Is I was fortunate because I had Suzuki, and but my factory title didn't go without bumps and bruises either. You guys should know this. So you get a factory ride, think everything's gonna be great, right? So at the beginning of the year, I got to back up a little bit. We go out to El Mirage, and it's Jeff Watch, Jim Putman, and myself, and I don't think Rodney was there. So we got to do 2 weeks or maybe a week or two of testing. I don't know. We're there like 3 days, and we're riding these bikes, and the team manager put together these bikes. His name's Chuck Duran. Chuck's a friend today, but he puts these bikes together. And Chuck was my guy when I got top privateer. And there were some things I didn't like doing there, but so here we are. I got a chance to go win a title, sign a big contract, and we're riding stuff that's slow. I mean, we're testing stuff that's just not right. The motors are not there. And it's 87 that we're going into. It's end of 86, maybe January of 87. And the 87 bikes are out, but we're going to race 86 bikes, and we're testing these bikes, and they're horrible. So I bring out, about the third or fourth day, I bring out my 86 Marner bike, and I let everybody ride it. It's way better than what we're riding.
Okay.
And we're going to get smoked. So I'm disappointed. I'm so disappointed. I go one-on-one with Chuck. And I said to Chuck, Chuck, you need to call Shigenoya, which is the president of Suzuki, and let him know. I tell him I want to talk to him. I want out of the contract. And he goes, why? I go, I can't ride this stuff. This stuff is junk. I said, I hired on with you guys to win the national title. And what's going to happen is I'm going to go race, and I'm going to get beat with this stuff. And at the end of the year, Suzuki's not going to rehire me. So I would just rather stay home, win local races, which is what I want to go do. And I just went out of the contract. And Chuck had tears in his eyes because he didn't want to hear that. And he came back the next day, and I meant it. I was serious. And he came back the next day, and he said, all right, you guys can ride what you want for these first nationals till we get the bike sorted out. And we did. I went and won Pomona and went on to win that year, you know.
Oh, wow.
So, it was that was a hard thing to do and a hard choice, but you have to do and realize what you're up against.
Well, you have to set yourself up for success too. So you've done enough racing to that point with the deck stacked against you. So you weren't gonna do it anymore now that you're on the quad. So you talk about this, but when we're talking about the racing, because now you're just at your first national championship at this point, but
Sure.
did the ATV riding come more natural to you from the very beginning, or was it like tell me about that, because you took to the ATV so well? Why is that?
Well, here's what I think. I think most motocross guys that get off dirt bikes and try to ride a quad, they're afraid of them.
Yeah,
and they'll tell you that. They'll tell you that. I was just talking to, and I've never met Justin Brayton, but I was talking to Steve on Pulp, and he said that Brayton said, man, they're a little sketchy over the jumps. So most of the guys don't understand that you got to lean into the high side of the jump. And my deal was I just wanted to do whatever it took to learn how to ride it and go make money and make a living out of it and be the best I could be. That was it.
Okay. Yeah.
And you got to remember, I just come from hardcore school and not hard school in Knox and not making any money.
Right.
And now I got an opportunity to make a lot of money, make a great living, and I want to go do that. So the hardest thing I had to do was not put my foot down.
Oh, I'm sure.
You've done that your whole life, 12 and a half years in moto. And now I'm getting on this thing, and if I put my foot down, it's going to eat me alive. And we didn't have Nerf bars in the beginning. We raced with no Nerf bars.
Exactly. Yes.
And then when we put Nerfs down, we also didn't ride with any nets. And then finally we later had nets, so they're kind of bulletproof. But you have those things, and you just don't know, if you're going to put your foot down or not. So when I would sit on the thing, I'd tell myself 5 times, okay, don't put your feet down. And I would say it slowly, and I would mean it, and I would digest it. And it's what's kept me from hurting myself on.
That is absolutely crazy. That just to look at it that way, like, hey, I cannot put my foot down. That's unreal. So
well, I can tell you a little story. A buddy of mine, how I knew, is a buddy of mine. We're at Saddleback, and a buddy of mine shows up, and I've won 4 motos, 125, 250 pro. had a great day, didn't fall all day. This is a true story. And he pulls up on a 250R three-wheeler. And he goes, hey, man, you got to ride this thing. You got to ride it. And I go, nah. And he goes, come on. I go, okay. I jump on it. I got my moto gear on, just finished the moto. And I go over and I get on it. And what do? I put my foot down. First thing, ate it up, almost broke my knee. I go, get this pile away from me. I was so mad, right? And there you go. Nothing against three-wheelers, but there's a moto guy, does the thing that he's naturally going to do. So that's why I knew if I was going to survive on the quad, I had to keep my feet up.
You had to focus on keeping your feet up. And that's funny you mentioned the three-wheeler thing too, because I mean, before not knowing your history in depth like this, I would have bet that a three-wheeler would have been a bridge in somewhere, because it just seems more like a dirt bike when you're going from a dirt bike to a four-wheeler. So that's funny to know that three-wheelers were never involved. Like you wanted nothing to do with them.
No. I had some friends that raced them or rode them in Glamis, and when quads were kind of like a natural transition, and three-wheelers were not. I mean, I can tell you a gnarly story. I mean, you should know this one. Jimmy White was a god. So let's go to this one. So here's Jimmy White, and they're gonna start racing quads and three-wheelers together. And I think that we had once, and I think that might have been the Coliseum event where I won, but we don't really know who's faster. And I know Jimmy's a god, so I'm going, wow. So we show up at this track down in San Diego area, and we're going to do a test. Who's better? Well, who's faster, the three-wheeler or the four-wheeler guy?
Okay.
So they pit us against each other. And first thing we do is I want to say motocross, and I beat him in motocross, and then, like quite a bit. So that was kind of cool. And then we ride TT, and I win by a little bit. And then we do starts, and he beats me, and there's no way I can beat him. His bike's just gnarly. I mean, you're hooking up, and not that my bike was slow. It was good.
Of course, yeah.
But they had those calories working well. So then they go, we're done. I beat him. This is cool, and I'm happy with that. And then they go, the editor goes, oh, hey man, we should do let's do the speedway track. And it's a big one. And I'm going like, no, come on, man. And so Jim, So Jimmy's got another shot at me, and I'm going, man. So he gets out there, and he's got the thing freaking wide open the whole track, and it's impressive to watch him ride that thing around the speedway track,
of
right?
course.
And he is incredible. It's like poetry in motion.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to beat him lap times. There's no way. Well, his whole thing, you got to go, what? And on a three-wheel, you're wide open the whole thing, right? Well, I'm different. I'm making it like 2 turns. He's making it completely 4 turns.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So there's a turn, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm like a 1, 2 pretty much.
Okay.
So what that means is I drive right in, go to the inside, brake, swing the back end around, binders on, and then slide the back end around and hook up and come off.
Yeah, drive in and drive out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I do that, and anyway, we get done, and I beat him by a little bit, and they said, well, it's close, and I'm pumped. I didn't think I'd beat him at all, and I did, because it was just faster. Yeah. And so it's because he's burning the tires, but it didn't appear that way. So then we go again, and I go, I can go faster. And so we go again, and I beat him by even more, and so that killed that. So fortunate for me, I won.
That's cool.
That shootout. Yeah,
that's cool.
But it was a legendary shootout. It was a changing of the guard, is really what that was.
That's kind of what I was going to say is, that Kawasaki, that three-wheeler, and Jimmy White. I mean, that's such a legendary combo. And like you just said, it's kind of the changing of the guard. We'll get right back to the show, but now a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. Before Digging Deep was even a reality, back when it was just an idea, CST Tires already believed in us, which is fitting because no one believes in their tires more than I do. Our title sponsor, CST Tires, and their Pulse MXR tires continue to hook every rider strong enough and willing to grab a handful of throttle after mounting them on their ride. Used by Thomas Brown to win races and clinch a third straight Quad Cross of Nations title, Nick Janusa when he grabbed his first career Pro Class podium, and myself, Cody Jansen, as I rode my Pulse MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears to a 2019 national championship in the Junior 25 Plus class. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Visit CSTTires.com to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. CST Tires, where passion meets the ground.
Anybody that I've gotten to try them, I've heard nothing but positive things back.
We're proud to be Team Blue Crew here at the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. Why choose Yamaha? Look no further than Chad Wienen's 6 championships in the past 8 seasons aboard his Yamaha YFZ 450R. Not to mention, Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing, and their support of this podcast proves it. For the 2020 ATVMX season, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program will offer payout and prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ 450R. For more information, head to YamahaOutdoors.com and follow them on social media at Yamaha Outdoors today. All hail Blue Crew, the #1 OEM supporter of ATV racing. For over 150 years, Valvoline has led the charge by being dedicated to constant improvement and innovation across all disciplines of racing. Valvoline has sponsored some of the greatest names in motorsports, and for the better part of a decade, I've been fortunate enough to be part of the historically great Team Valvoline. From my commuting vehicles to small engines, race quads, and everything in between, I trust nothing but Valvoline in all of my equipment. I've experienced increased function and durability, as well as a longer life expectancy thanks to Valvoline's array of products and lubricants. Since 1866, Valvoline has been focused on bettering your experience, whether on road, on track, and everywhere in between. Upgrade to Valvoline today and check them out at valvoline.com. SSI Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and, oh yeah, 6-time NHRA world champion Clay Milliken. No project is too big or too small for SSI decals, making your identity stick with championship level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor, because things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX podcast is brought to you in part by DID Racing Chain and their 520 ATV2 chain. This patented X-ring chain boasts a steel alloy construction for reduced weight, increased strength, and a longer overall chain life, making it the optimal ATV racing chain. Pick up an ATV2 chain today at your local dealer or wherever DID chains are sold. Don't forget about their motocross, off-road, and street bike chains as well. Wherever you go, go with DID.
Hello listeners, this is Chad Wienen, 6-time AMA ATV Pro National Champion, an owner of Wienen Motorsports and proud partner of Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. The two of us share a strong passion for ATVMX. Owning my own team gives us the ability to handpick the best products on the market for our racing program. With consistent testing, research, and development, we are confident that when choosing the products we believe in, our customers will be satisfied in building their own race program as well. We race what we sell. With brands like Fox Shocks, Walsh Racecraft, SSI Decals, Wrath Racing, and Hinson Racing, just to mention a few, go to check out wienenmotorsports.com to see the full lineup. Enter discount promo code DIGDEEP at checkout. Enough talking already. Get out and get some fresh air and go ride. Hope to see you at the track soon.
We are proud to be partnered with Numira Technologies. Since 2001, Numira has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Numira's advanced piston technology uses a NASA-exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, that allows for tighter tolerances and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Numira's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, and industry-leading top-end repair kits, visit your local dealer or online at www.numira.com. Numira Technologies, pistons with an attitude. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV Components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals like rods and cylinders, all the way down to suspension parts and bearing kits, Bronco is your hard part source for whatever you need for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world. Visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com. The Digging Deep ATVMX podcast is also sponsored by DP Brakes, a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology. DP has been dominating the ATV world for decades by supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. 2020 is no different, with an impressive lineup including AMA ATV Pro Class champion Joel Hetrick and Phoenix Racing Honda team, Cody Jansen and his 2019 Junior 25 Plus National Championship, Baldwin Motorsports, Nick Januza, Wesley Wolf, and much more in the ATV motocross. In GNCC Racing, DP has 16 of the top 17 pros heading into 2020. This includes the champ Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Chris Borich, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, Adam McGill, and more. These riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them on the top of the podium. Available at www.dp-brakes.com. Purchase at your local dealer or message us for the contact info today. What are you waiting for? Join the best ATV riders in the world on DP Brakes. Forworks Carbon's innovative lightweight products include top-notch seat covers, carbon fiber, and plastic hoods, gas tank covers, exhaust shields, shock guards, and much more. Whether you have an ATV, UTV, or snowmobile, Forworks has the goodies that will improve your ride and make you salivate. We trust Forworks for increased function and a sexier look, and you should too. Forworks Carbon, always working hard to bring high quality and innovative parts to the market. Check them out today at fwcarbon.com.
We are proud to be partnered with Gripped Gloves. Gripped is an ATV rider-owned and operated brand with the rider in mind and the goal of keeping costs affordable. The Michigan-based family operation recognizes riders' desire to showcase their identity. Owner David Payne's love for eccentric colorways and crazy patterns shows in his product, something not often found in the work of big manufacturers. Here to push stereotypes and limitations, Grip's drive is to produce a glove with cool colors and designs that won't break the bank. With comfort and quality as key motivators, the family affair is constantly working on the next more innovative and improved glove. Get a grip on life, join the Gripped movement, because no one wants a bland glove. Check them out today at grippedgloves.com, that's GRIPT gloves.com, and use discount code DIGGINGDEEP10 to save at checkout. If you were to guess, on average, how many days people in the U.S. have to wait to see a doctor, what would you say? Americans have to wait around 29 days to see a doctor in major U.S. cities. And if you're dealing with a condition like erectile dysfunction, you want treatment ASAP. That's why our friends at Roman have spent years building a digital platform that can connect you with a licensed doctor in your state, all from the comfort of your home. Roman makes it convenient to get the treatment you need on your schedule. Just grab your phone or computer, complete a free online visit, and you'll hear back from a U.S. licensed physician within 24 hours. If the doctor decides that treatment is right for you, Roman's Pharmacy can ship your medication to you with free 2-day shipping. You also get free unlimited follow-ups with your doctor anytime you have questions or want to adjust your treatment plan. With Roman, there are no commitments and you can cancel anytime. So if you're struggling with ED, go to getroman.com/digging for your free online visit and free 2-day shipping. That's getroman.com/digging for your free online visit and free 2-day shipping. We are also proud of our partnership with Factory 43. Factory 43 was born in 2007, making Nerf bars for the Suzuki LTR, Honda TRX 450R, and Yamaha's YFZ 450. The brand soon added bumpers and grab bars, and for years now has offered parts for all sport quads. The racer-owned company strives to offer a quality product that installs easy, looks good, and holds up over time. For 2020, Factory 43 is the aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing Honda team, providing riders like Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Chris Borich, and Grayson Eller with the motocross and cross-country versions of their Evo Nerf bar and MX-style front bumpers. Head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of products. Thanks to Factory 43. We are excited to dig deep with the support of Bikes, Trikes, and Quads, LLC. Celebrating their 10-year anniversary this May, the company was started by former racers selling three-wheeler parts out of a barn in upstate New York. Through hard work, accompanied by offering great service to their customers, BTQ LLC now has over 40,000 new and used parts in stock. but they haven't forgotten their roots, still offering used OEM parts for three-wheelers, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides. Parts are in stock and ready to ship with delivery within 3 days, including free shipping on orders over $50. Use discount code ATVMX at www.btqllc.com for $10 off orders of $50 or more. We're grateful to have Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC digging deep with us. Support our industry's grassroots businesses. Thank you, BTQ LLC.
We are proud to be partnered with Avocado Green Mattresses. We all know that sleep and rest are an important part of any athlete's routine. Avocado's line of natural mattresses and pillows provide exactly the support you need to ensure you perform at your best while doing the best for the planet. The Avocado mattress offers zoned back support with an internal support unit, meaning whether you are recovering from a hard day of riding or relaxing on a Sunday morning, you will be experiencing next level comfort. You can rest in peace knowing the components in your mattress and pillow are non-toxic, natural, and sustainably sourced. And getting your Avocado Green mattress could not be any easier. They offer a 100-night sleep trial, free shipping and return pickups, and a 25-year warranty. And if that wasn't enough, rest assured knowing they have 5-star ratings by verified customers, including some of the Digging Deep staff. Step up your sleep game by visiting avocadomattress.com.
Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show. You talked about 87, and that was your first championship and all these things, and then it goes on a streak. And I guess when you look at 8 consecutive titles from afar, when you look at it in a statistic or a archive or whatever, like it looks like 8 consecutive, like it looks like it was easy, but I'm sure that it wasn't. I mean, I'm sure that there were crazy battles and so take me through some of that, because again, like when you look at that many in a row, you figure, hey, he just killed everybody. But yeah, so take me into that, because I know that there's your rides changed and maybe your factory affiliation changed, and so take me into some of that. Well,
here's one for you. So let's end 88. So 88 ends. I'm going to sign a multi-year contract, and I'm looking to sign, $300,000 a year plus, right?
Yep.
And you're talking a ton of dough back then, and I'm going to finally make real big bucks. I'm excited.
Right.
We're talking about that. Duran and I are, and it comes in. We come into it, and I'm not getting any calls, and maybe I called Chuck, and then Chuck calls a meeting, and so it's Putman, Watts, and myself. And we go and meet him down in Brea by Suzuki, and he's not really supposed to meet with us, but he tells us Suzuki's not going to re-sign us for the next year. And you want to talk about ugly? I mean, I figured there was something up, but it was really heart shaking, because you go from having cool ride, everything's kind of dialed in, and now we're going to go into racing multi-year contracts, and it's nice to have a factory behind you. And you just show up and race, there's more to it than that, but that's kind of like what it is. But
yep.
So Putman looks at Watts and says, "What are you going to do?" And he goes, "Well, I got that cabinet shop. I'm going to go do that." And Watts looks at Putman and he goes, "What are you going to do?" And he goes, "Well, he goes, "I got a concrete cutting. I'm going to company. And I'm going to go do that, cut concrete." And they both look at me and they go, "What are you going to do?" I go, "I'm going racing." So I'd already figured out I could do sponsors and stuff, and I'd already made my grounds of what I wanted to do and be. And so fortunate for me at that point, I was able to go garner up a bunch of sponsors, and the sponsorships were still good. And because I was number one, I was able to get quite a few, and I was able to make good money. I think I probably made $70,000 that year. That was more than I ever made in my lifetime. So that was cool, other than the title, which I made 100.
Right. Yeah. So, but that's crazy that, you kind of get put out on your own, and now you just figure it out. Like you,
well, it was tough, so,
but you saw the business, you saw the businessman aspect of this, and how you could play that, because I mean, as far as I've ever known about you in your era and how you put your whole program together, you were the first real, I guess, professional in every sense of the word. You were the first business person kind of doing the ATV thing. Am I right?
Yeah, I guess somewhat. I mean, I was older, so I
Okay.
was probably 6 to 10 years older in my next competition.
Okay.
That was one. So I was probably a little more mature in that respect. I mean, I can remember being, over in South Africa on motorcycles, couldn't even speak. They wanted me to do a speech. And so to due time, you learn how to speak, do public speaking, and talk in front of large crowds and things of that nature. So I was kind of groomed for that through that transitional process of motorcycles into ATVs and stuff. And of course, age. So that helped me a lot. And then I just went after it. I mean, I put together resumes, and I put together, I had all these articles, and the press was really good for me. And whether it was a gear company or, an oil company or whatever, I mean, I was doing that stuff. And you're talking about sponsorships and people. I mean, I was with Bel Ray forever. This little oil company starts here in Chino in 1990. And remember, money is money, and Bel Ray gives me a lot of product, and we use a ton of it.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I probably use 10 grand of it a year. And this other company has an additive company. It's just a husband and wife, 2 kids, and they're in a roll-up 1,500 square foot roll-up building in Chino. And the guy says, "I'll give you 10,000 shares of my company for a sticker." Really nice people. Okay. And I wanted to do it, but I was contractually attached to Bel Ray, and ethically I couldn't do it, and contractually I couldn't do it. And so I didn't do that. And that company's probably 6th or 8th largest, oil company in the U.S., and that's Forrest Lucas Oil.
Oh, wow. Oh,
that's true. Forrest started right here in Chino. So there you go.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. So yeah, it's unreal. Cause I actually got people asking me what sponsorship was like in your era. And I knew that we could kind of tie this together when we were talking about it, because even when you went away from Suzuki, and I didn't know how it ended, and I didn't know how that factory affiliation changed, but I had read some things that, first you rode for factory efforts, and then you had a privateer effort of your own, but you made it look factory in your presentation.
Well,
that's kind of where I took that, that you were such a professional and stuff from. So I'll let you pick up there.
Well, I was fortunate because in '88 I met Wayne Henson. Ellen Knowles from CT introduced me to him, and so Wayne had a construction company, and we hit it off as just 2 guys hanging out, and he bought me a quad for practice bike, and then in '89 he sponsored me full blown. But what happened was, in '88, you talk about stuff, and we'll get into Wayne and sponsorships and people, but in '88 I beat Barry McCarty by 1 point. Didn't even know I beat him. I left Loretta Lynn's last national of the year, went to the airport, and thought I lost the title. My mechanic had taken my number 1 plate off and put it on Barry's bike. I won the overall that day, and Barry and I had just a bar banging race at the second moto. I won the first moto, and the last moto we just went at it. And I don't remember if that was it might have been we had heats because there was so many people, but I don't think so. I think it was 2 motos. I think it was. But Big Dave Coombs put a bitchin' track over in the campground area because it was all mudded out in the regular track. So we rode this European track. And
yes, Doug Gus told us about this. Yeah, because this was his first pro race.
Oh, it was, Doug had these big, huge tires on.
Exactly. Yep. Kid. This is the exact story he told us. Yep.
Yeah. And it was so cool. So we went at it. I think I won with a 1-2. But anyway, the moral of the story is I left for the airport down there, and Paul Turner's there, and he owned Duncan Racing at the time because it was called Paul Turner Racing before he sold it.
Yep.
And I'm going, man, he goes, I go, man, it's so close. I go, I guess I lost. He goes, no, you won by 1 point. I go, what? He goes, yeah. Because I didn't count the points at that time. Trust me, after that, I did every year after that. I checked everybody,
right?
Because I was leaving the future, I was leaving my future up to the AMA and what they calculated, which AMA is great, but you just never know, and you need to know where you're at. So.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's so. I mean, yeah, going back to me saying that 8 titles in a row looks easy, but I knew that there was some that were really, really, really close. I just wanted to hear the details about these things.
So McCarty's got number 1 on his bike. He thinks he won. I think he won. And I go to the airport, and they tell me I won, and I Well, Turner tells me I won. So then I called AMA. I was burning their phone up, Monday morning, and they said, "No, you're the champion." I went, "Wow, what a gift!"
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah, and that's fact. So what really helped me is, like I said, Wayne Henson was he's a friend. Him and his family, him and Carol and Ronnie and Brian, they were all supportive. And Wayne bought me that bike. We struck a friendship, and the '88 was kind of a tough year because I had to hodgepodge the team together. And then '89, from there on, we hooked up with that year. We hooked up with Alan Knowles, and Knowles was the motor builder. And then after that, we hooked up with Rod Emery, and Rod Emery was an amateur rider because it was expensive. Because remember, we live here on the West Coast, and the majority of the events are back east.
Of course,
so to put a mechanic on the road full time, you're talking, I don't know, 60, 80 grand a year, gas, lodging, monies, maybe 100. I don't even know. You'd have to put together, but 70 to 100 grand. So it's not feasible to make any money or be able to do that. So what we would do was hook up with amateur riders, Rod Emery being the first. And Rod's still a good friend today, and he owns a Porsche development company in Hollywood here. He's really gifted at it. He builds these special Porsches. But him and his family with Emerys were great. And then after that, I think it was the Bellhands, Georgie Bellhand, and Big George and him and their mom, and that was just phenomenal. They were great. And then the Goodmans, Harold Goodman, the Knacks, and then I think the Goodmans again. And so all these people helped me out a lot. And had been, like I said, Wayne Henson was there. Wayne and I would, he lived in Montclair, so he's close to me, 15 minutes away. So we hung out all the time and tested all the time. And we would do stuff, that other people didn't do. We had a thing called alley testing. And alley testing consists of finding out what the characteristics of the motor is. That's, no suspension, just motor. Characteristics. So you want to know, if you put a different stuffer in the exhaust on a two-stroke, do you get more or less torque, what it does, how much, that kind of thing. Same thing with intake spacers. Same thing with pipe variations, short silencers, long silencers. Different cylinder heads, CC ratings, domed, not domed, compression factors, things of that nature. So we would test these things at night. We go to these these big tilt-up buildings where they have all this asphalt, and we'd go behind them because there's nobody out there in the boonies. And we'd show up at 10 o'clock at night with his trailer, and we'd start the generator, and we have lights, and the places were lit anyway. So it was cool. And then we would just test, and we'd change stuff. So that's how we developed a lot. So that when you got in the dirt, sure, it's not going to be the same, but you can try it. And you'll know what the characteristics going to do, what directive it's going to go.
Of course,
so, yeah. So that was a really big thing, but I got a great story. So Wayne and I there, and we'd show up at 10 o'clock at night because nobody was around. Cops were around, nobody around, right? So we're doing this illegally, So we go there, and he's got the bike, and it's got the greatest tone, and things. He's revving it, and I'm like, wow. So I get over and I grab the throttle. I'm on the right side of the bike, and I'm revving it. I'm off the bike. I'm not on it yet. I'm revving it. And wow, this sounds so good. And we had big, heavy flywheels and things. So I revved it, and it's still coming down off the revs, but it's still revved up. And I step over, and I kick it in gear, and it breaks the transmission. Boom.
Oh.
And Wayne, I look at Wayne. Wayne looks at me, and he was really good about it, but he wanted to kill me. I felt like I felt like a complete knucklehead. I mean, and we just talked about this a couple days ago, and he said, well, here's how I look at it, Denton. He says it's better than at a national, and Wayne would prep the bikes and make them bitching, and we'd do that. And those are things that helped us and enhanced our program,
That's unreal. And it's funny because my dad said to me earlier today, he's like, make sure you ask Gary about Wayne Henson, because I know that he had a lot to do with his program back then. So,
Wayne built the first clutch baskets. They were steel clutch baskets. Built one for me and one for Rod Emery, and we put them in the bikes because people were blowing them up, and he was worried about that. And they were rotating mass because they were heavier. They're steel versus aluminum, and so that enhanced the way the bike worked too.
Yep.
And it allowed us not to have DNF. So. That was out of need. That's how driven Wayne was. He owned a construction company, but he had lathes, and he's an old drag racer, and so he knew a lot about different things.
So did you get Did you get Wayne into ATV stuff, or was he already into ATVs before you?
He was already into it. They'd go to Glamis and stuff of that nature, but I don't believe as much. And he was really at the time he told me he was tired of the construction business. He wanted to take a little bit of time off.
Okay.
And he did that. And I don't know, he spent a lot of money and time and effort. I owe him the world. I mean, he's a good friend today, and
Yeah.
what he did for me, him and his family were just incredible. And they started a whole company out of the clutch basket thing. I'm happy for that. What's really cool is that we built the baskets and they had them, and the quad guys were using them. And I introduced him to Mitch Payton, and Mitch is on. No, we don't need them. And about 2 years later, Mitch was hired to break some baskets, and he calls Wayne up. Hey, Wayne, do you have clutch baskets for these things? And so rest is history. Put them in Mitch bikes. But what they found out, if you think about a dirt bike, they get a lot larger tires, so they get a lot more wheel chatter.
Right.
Well,
of course.
This eliminated a bunch of that wheel chatter.
Yep.
Not to mention, the basket wears and you get surging on the line and things of that nature.
Of course. Yep.
But no, I mean, so it's really cool to see them prosper out of that and do.
And they've built an empire there, but they're also, you've said it, but I wanted to chime in on it too. They're some of the nicest people in the whole entire world, the whole Hinson family there.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. So that's amazing. I wanted to, as soon as you started, I'm like, well, Gary must have had something to do with getting Hinson. So, I mean, cause still like Hinson's this giant company doing all this different stuff, but at their core, you can still tell that they're, I don't know if I want to say partial to ATVs, but ATVs are still in their heart,
Oh yeah, they go to Glamis and they use them and they play around and have fun, and
yeah,
they're a great family, a very close family. And Wayne has the kids they had a lot of children, and so Wayne and Carol have a lot of grandkids, and they just have a blast. And,
that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's keep the story going then. So because we're not quite to I don't know if we're quite to the 90s or the early 90s yet, but that's kind of when you're kind of in that lull of times were tough for ATV racing. And I guess I picked up on some of that because I had read some stuff that the Coombs family had wrote, and they had said that that's kind of the era there where Gary Denton and how professional you were and all these things. They had said that ATV racing may have not made it through that era if not for you and all you did to promote the whole sport, not just yourself. So kind of talk about those middle years there in your championships.
Well, like I said, once again, I mean, hanging out with Rod Emery, the Bell Hands, Harold, Big Harold, and Little Harold, they were phenomenal for me and Dorothy. All those people, Darren Nacarado, Darren was a good friend.
Yep.
All those guys, all those people helped us with our program to look professional and to set things up. So what my part was, what I tried to do was carry myself well, because it was a job. And without the promoters and without the fans and without the sponsors, we're nothing.
Exactly.
And I always say if you take your fingers and squeeze them together, you really can't see the difference between winning or losing.
Right.
And, life is like that too. So anyway, I just tried to do the best I could. And I had about 30 sponsors probably at any given time. Yep. And they might be anywhere from whatever to whatever. So I negotiated a lot of deals. That was one of my strong points, is negotiations. So that helped me a lot to be able to put together a lot of good programs. And part of my programs for the amateur riders was, whether it was Bellhan or Emery or Goodman or not Darren was an amateur, but what I would do is I would take my sponsors and get them to get involved and kick me down more product to be able to go to the events. So that helped me too. And if I look at my program was probably $200,000 or $300,000 a year when you added every bit, all the money up, whether it was me paying it or somebody else paying it,
Yep.
Sponsorship paying it, or what Wayne Hinson's paid, or whatever.
Sure.
Motor builders, what they kicked in, so it really took a group effort. I had really good sponsors, and they just treated me well. And I treated, I think you treat people how you want to be treated. You know?
Of course. And I think, I mean, you carried a stigma because even, like I said, even the people that we've been talking about, since the chatter that's been going on since, it kind of came out that you were going to be on our show here, but, everybody, like, you always had an approachable, friendly, not like a arrogance or a nose up in the air type of thing. That just wasn't you. It seems it was always, you were accessible to these people. And then, I mean, come to find out, you're telling me that you had amateurs that were helping make this program happen. So,
Yes.
that's a really cool thing because it, I mean, I think that stigma still sticks with you today, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, no, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I was just fortunate, and when you look at trying to win 8 titles, I mean, you win it with who you surround yourself with. You win it with, of course, ability. You win it with luck. And you win it with the help from the man above.
Yeah,
Nobody can win 8 of anything. I don't care if it's tiddlywinks, and I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just very difficult. Is what I'm trying to say.
It's absolutely unreal. Yeah, like you said, it's you kind of are the company that you keep. So that's definitely saying something. You're onto something there. So what was training like in those days? Like, how seriously were you taking your training? Because, I mean, were you just in better shape than these guys? Were you more talented than these guys? You said that your program was probably maybe superior to the guys you're racing against, or you took a very, very serious look at your program. So what was the biggest key separator of you, do you think?
I think drive, desire, and physical ability. I mean, meaning that I trained really hard.
Yep.
I knew how to train because of the 45-minute motos in moto. What it took to be able to hang out, hang in there till the last laps. I mean, I can tell you the motocross days, we'd ride in 45-minute motos. Eric Kehoe's an old friend. He runs a Honda team right now for Roxon.
Sure does.
And I beat Eric in '82. He got 8th. I got top priority. Beat him for top priority. But he had a semi-works Yamaha. I mean, they had factory suspension, motors, and stuff like that. But Eric was faster. and in the last 15 minutes, I'd catch him and beat him. In fact, my buddy Chuck Miller runs Honda, or a big portion of Honda. He put up on the board one time, So he goes, wait a minute. He was showing me all the plates when I was in the Honda race shop, right? And he goes, what, didn't you race in there? I go, no, I raced right here. I beat your team manager, Eric Kehoe, right in here. And so he puts it up there, and I talk about Eric Fade, and Eric's a stud, man. He looks like he's 40,
He
and
does,
he looks really good. Yeah.
Yep.
And so Mel goes, you beat him? And I go, yeah, he used to fade. I go, he was really fast. And so Eric fixed that naturally. He was younger then, but so Miller writes it up there. Denton was faster, catch Kehoe. Kehoe was faster, but would fade. Denton would catch him and beat him. And so they're all there eating pizza, and Kehoe sees that, and he calls me up and what is this crap? Oh, it was so funny. To have fun with, you got to have fun with those guys.
Of course.
That's what life's about, when you look at it,
Absolutely. So fitness was kind of a strength of yours for forever,
yes.
But you touched on some of your drive and stuff. So kind of piggybacking off of that a little bit, but what motivated you? Because winning over and over and over again, I mean, it can blur together, right? We had this conversation with Chad Wienen a little bit, but you just kept it rolling. So what fueled your fire?
Well, I had a lot of people, really, I had a lot of people depending on me to win. I mean, they kind of rolled on red with me, so to speak. And so that was one. I just looked at it. It was me against the other competitors. And I have a lot of them that are friends. Barry McCarty and I talked today, But I wanted to beat the guys probably more than they wanted to beat me. And I mean, once again, I go back to the years. I didn't talk about it much then because it was what it was. But when you're 6 to 10 years older, you can't train as hard. You can't do as much to get in the conditioning that you want to get into, especially the later years. That I remember my last title was '94.
Yep.
And I was really dominant that year, but I had worked on suspension. Henson wanted me to work on the frame bikes more, and I did. And so I did a lot of training.
So how old are you in '94?
So I got to go back and look, but I'm going to say 36.
Okay.
So I'm 36. You got to remember, most guys are 25, 27, 22. And that's a lot. that's a lot of difference,
It
because
sure is.
you can, you probably up to your 25 or so, you don't get affected hardly at all.
Right.
You can get 3 hours sleep and get up in the morning and feel great, all those things.
Yep.
So I was fortunate enough to have my health. That's one. Not have injuries. I try not to jump off the thing and do stupid stuff,
Yeah.
So some of the riders were tended to push the envelope and they crash,
Right.
So I was fortunate enough to have the ability to be able to stay on, things are bucking Broncos, come on, they're violent.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you're doing daredevil tactics at some time, at some
Right.
point, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know if you can quite make that. And a lot of times I wouldn't even do a double jump that would maybe be a gnarly jump until I felt good about it, because
Till
I
you
didn't want to
had
get
to.
hurt.
Right.
Yeah, until I had to. A lot of times drove Henson nuts. I may not do it till the first lap of the first moto,
Well, you're just
because there
being
were
calculated. Yeah. That makes sense.
there was guys in their way in practice. The base of the jump was muddy. One little mistake and you're hurt. So
Of course.
those were things, probably a little bit, more knowledge than some of the guys.
Well,
Helped me a lot too.
that's how a champion goes about his business, right? Like you know what's in you, so you're like, when I have to do it, I will, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Just some of those things, I got a funny story for you, so you probably want to hear some good stuff. So
yeah, go ahead.
So here's a good one. Let me see, what is some of the stuff. Let me look at this. Okay, so we have this track. It's called Challenger. Okay, and it's a TT track, and I don't know. They had a bunch of problems with guys jumping the starts and jumping the starts and jumping the starts, and so we show up at the race, and they go. I think Jack owned the track. I think he's the one, the promoter, the owner. But so anyway, I'd had some other issues with him, but I'm not going to get into those. So we go there. I tried to get along with all the guys, but we
Yep.
get there, and so he goes, "Okay, we're gonna videotape, the starts. So if there's a problem, we can rewind it right there, and you can review it." Okay, great.
Okay.
Now the promoter's got a really hard job. The referee's got a hard job. So I never tried to get in their face unless it was something that affected me in a wrong manner, and just I was wronged. I just think that's the way it should be. So,
Okay.
so we go there and get up. I don't know. I win the heat or something. We get on the line, and remember they had multiple heats in TT. So front row start, and we're there, and I can't remember if John Scott, might have been Scott and Gus. They roll, and whoever rolls supposed to be put in the back line. Well, they put me in the back line, and the referees telling me I rolled. I go, they rolled and then I moved. Of course you're going to move. They initiate.
Right.
It's kind of like football, right? So
any TT flat track racer knows that.
Yeah. So they put me on the back. I go, I want to see the tape. They go, no, you can't. They wouldn't let me. So then after the race, Henson and I go over and we want to review the tape. The review of the tape is erased.
Because they knew they were wrong.
Yeah, how do you like those apples?
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So those are funny things, But now I'm going to go back. So then fast forward, they have a Legends event, and we're at Ashtabula. And this is like, I don't know, 5 years later or something.
Okay.
Shane Hitt and John Scott are standing around, and they're buddies of mine because we rate bang bars forever.
Of course. Yeah.
And I've got some pretty long history with Shane, and I'm going to tell you a good one about him. I'm going to bust his gonads on this one. So anyway,
Okay.
So Shane. But I'll tell you the story first. So Shane goes, yeah, well, we were at that track 2-3 weeks earlier. He goes, what happened? And of course he hedges, is West Virginia. I think he's from Virginia. He says West Virginia, but I think he's Virginian. So anyway, he says, yeah, me and John went up there, and he said, we told Randy, the referee, hey, what are you gonna do about the guys that jumped? And he goes, well, I'm gonna put him on the back row. And he goes, no, you're not gonna put Denton on the back row. He jumps every time. So they got the guy rubbed up. You understand? So this is what happened. So in fairness to him, they revved him up. So he's watching me. And so he didn't want to be wronged, even though he was wrong.
Right.
You get it?
I totally get it.
They put me together. And so, I mean, that's backhanded, but it had been many years later, so I didn't hold it against him.
Right. But it's kind of like you said, you brought up football. It's kind of like being in the referee's ear about a certain player.
Yeah.
All
that's
game,
what they do.
all game long. And then at the end of the game, you finally get the call that they were trying to get. So
it's what they do, when you look at it. So here's a good one. So Shane Hitt, right? Okay. He's going to hate me for this one because he probably listens to this thing. So,
yeah,
so Shane, okay, cool. So Shane we go to Mount Morris, and I crash the third turn. I'm trying to get around the guy in second, and I crash going down those 10 Commandment things or something. And I jump off the bike, and the thing goes, I don't know, a long ways away from me. And I'm dead last. I go get plugged back in. I jump back on it. And I work my way all the way back up to, I think I'm in fourth. Maybe fourth or third. I don't know. And I'm going pretty good. And it comes down to the last lap. Shane's right in front of me. And so Shane, I'm going to say he's in third, and I'm in fourth. And there's only a few turns left. If I get around him and come down this big gnarly downhill, and then there's this really steep uphill, and I pass him and I wave to him. And I beat him. I mean, I shouldn't beat him, but I beat him, right? So that's that year, right? Okay. So I goes over, and he's giving me some choice words about me running down the hill, how goofy I looked and all that. And I go, I beat you, didn't I? He goes, yeah. So he was kind of hot about it. So So then the next year, I got a bad start or something, and I'm coming through the pack. It's the same freaking corner. There's Shane hit. I thought, oh my God. So now I had passed him a different way. I can't remember if it was inside, outside, or vice versa. So I pass him differently this time. And he thinks I'm going to pass him the same way I did the time before.
Right.
So, and I make a full block pass, I think is what it was. And then I wave. This hill, you can barely get up. And I wave. And like, oh shit, he's going to be so pissed 2 years in a row. So I had to go like so fast the last 5 corners because he's going to kill me. And he's all over me, and I beat him. And he was so mad.
Oh my gosh.
2 years in a row, same corner. Can you
That's
imagine?
crazy. So you know how you can work a guy throughout a race, right? Like you make him think you're going to take a certain line, but you did it the year earlier. That's what Gary Denton does. He sets him up a whole year in advance.
Oh yeah. No, it was good, and we still laugh about that stuff.
That's
we
so funny.
We kid around on Facebook or whatever. It's just good stuff, good people. When you look back on it.
That's awesome. And you in the previous little story you told us there, you talked about the MX, and you were talking about TT at the time. So the series at the time was, motocross and TT together, the GNC series. Did you have like a preference? We got a lot of questions about this. So did you have a preference, or did you feel like you standed out on either of them? Because people asked if you had to race with a different mindset or whatever. And I guess I started on TT when I first started racing. And I guess I almost wish I could have lived in that era, because I love the thought of there being like no doubt. When you win a title back then, you were the baddest man on an ATV, period, because you had won in every condition. So just talk about that a little bit.
Well, it was tough because you had to have, we just got to a point where we had to have 2 different bikes. So that was one thing. So when I switched from Suzuki to Honda, that was easier. But in '88, I rode Suzuki and TT, and I rode Honda in Moto.
Oh, wow.
And and then, so because I thought it was a better TT bike, and then Rodney Gentry went really fast and on the Honda, and I said, okay, well, if he can do it, then I got to set mine up like his and do the same thing. So I did, but TT for me seemed to be easier to adapt to. But Moto, I was a motocrosser, so I was natural to that too. So, there were years where I had better TT years, and there were other years where I had better Moto years. So it just depends, The racing changed when they went from Hoosier tires to the McCreary's.
Okay.
And pretty much you didn't have to have a lot of chassis set up. And then in the end, there were guys juicing tires. So the McCreary's, they got that technology from the sprint car drivers.
Yep.
So they juice the tires, and what happens is the tires are like, I'll tell you what, it's like glued to the asphalt.
I know. I remember all these stories. Yes.
Okay. Well, so where all that happened is the guys from, up in Illinois and stuff.
I was just going to say Illinois, Iowa, Missouri. Yeah.
Well, Baker had those things glued right to the ground. And Henson's telling me, and Baker liked this. He'd say, he's going in the corner and just kind of going right around the turn. I go, wait, I'm going 10 feet deeper in the corner. I'm coming off. I'm on the back of the seat. And he's all over me like I went in the corner slow. I can't do much more. He's going, you got to go faster.
Right, yeah.
And so what it was, the bike was glued to the track, so it didn't matter. And as you know, when a bike's not hooked up on the ground, you're screwed. So I mean, I could tell you one track I raced at Challenger. I lapped all the way up to 3rd or 4th place.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
because the bike, it was just glued. I don't know why. We could
Perfect
never
that day.
we could never replicate it.
Right. Yeah.
And so
maybe that's what made you so dominant too, was because the TT stuff came to you, but you had a motocross background, because some guys were really good on TT and they had a harder time on the motocross, and then vice versa. They were really good moto guy, but maybe they were too crazy or rode too aggressively or whatever for TT. It's almost like you had the perfect combination.
Yeah. So I was fortunate with that, but I practiced a lot. We have a place called Lake El Mirage out here, so I would TT a lot before the events, and I think that was really important.
Okay.
But when I look back, I mean, in '94, when my last title, I was really dominant. I think I won. It was a 10 series event, championship, and I think I won 6 or 7 of those events. So pretty dominant, but that was that was the next year I lost the title, which would have been '95, but. In '94, I won the Nationals, won the Mickey Thompson title all in the same year.
Okay.
And I won Montreal. So that was pretty cool.
That was a dominant year then, of course. So you're talking about all these guys, the guys you were racing with at the time. We got tons of questions about like who would have been your main rivals or who were your toughest competitors. So talk about that, because I know I'm sure they changed over the years there. You're racing different guys throughout those, a span of all those years. But who stands out, I guess, to you? Because we've had guys on the show before that you've brought up your name a lot. So tell us kind of the guys that stood out to you as kind of the toughest competition for you.
It's tough because some guys were better in TT and some guys are better in moto, and some guys then some guys were better for a year or two, and then they weren't as competitive. I mean, I'm going to give you some names. I mean, you got Rodney Gentry, in the beginning. You got Farr, you got Banks, you got McCarty, you got Gus, you got Shepard, you got Bird, you got Talley, you got Spader, you got Hit. I mean, and that's not all of them. With those difficult years.
And the crazy thing is like there's so many different guys and eras that you just named in that little bit. I mean, because there's guys that raced for 20 years, and then there's guys that were only around in those select years,
Yeah, so that's very difficult to do, but I'll give you one. So when I look at it, let's see, Natali won titles, and he was there.
Yep.
Joe Bird was there. He won titles, but these were after, I was gone. Spader won titles, and he was there racing with me. Gus, same thing. He won title. So competitive guys. I mean, Farr won a title. He beat me, and then he went on one more. But the reality is, he was there for a bunch of those years.
So I was gonna say that. I mean, basically, almost everybody that won a title in the 2000s until the late 2000s. Were guys that you were still racing against. Because when we talked about them, it was always, I saw how Gary Denton did it. I was always wanting to be like Gary Denton. So even when Denton was gone, I saw how he performed. I saw how he went about his business, and I saw how I wanted to be. So when those guys got a little older, they were doing what you were doing to them 10 years earlier, or whatever the number is.
There's things sometimes, I play a lot of cat and mouse with the guys. I mean, I might be faster, but I might want to save my energy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And you can just take a guy's heart out by letting him catch up to you for 3 laps and whittle down 5 seconds and then pull away by 5 seconds.
Oh, that's a backbreaker.
Oh, and I can tell you events where I should have won and had it completely wrapped up. Going to call my mom for, Mother's Day and say, Happy Mother's Day, Mom. And 5 turns to the finish and the bike breaks. You know what I mean? So there's stuff,
of course.
There's just stuff, all you can do is try. Like I said, you got to have all of it. Luck has definitely got to be there. The people you surround yourself, and, you got to have skill naturally. And you got to have help from above. I mean, there's just no 2 ways about any of that.
No. And then that whole combination worked for you for so long. So you came up short in 95. And I guess, I don't know exactly when it ended for you, but when did you walk away?
Well, 95, let's talk about that a little bit. So
yeah, please.
Timmy Farr won the title, and he deserved it. Obviously I should have did better throughout the year. I don't even remember the events because it's been so long ago, but I can tell you, I came close to winning that one too. I got off like third place. I want to say second or third. Worked up to Spader was leading. I passed him just before the big table, and I jumped into it and landed kind of on the face. And there was, on the upgrade of it, and there was a face of it, and it was a little muddy there, and we were going at pace because I just had passed him, and all of a sudden the bike threw me sideways, like I augered into the mud. And I crashed, got back up, and got 7th or 6th or 10th or so. I don't even know.
Okay.
And the bike, it flung me off the bike pretty good. Luckily, I didn't get hurt. So anyway, after the event, I was walking the track, and I'm thinking, and I'm bummed because I realized that this is the last race of TT. And I don't know if I won or not, but I was in the points. I was leading the points. Everything was good. And if I won the moto, then the motocross race, I'm good. And I'm in shape for it. Everything's good. But now I've gotten a 6th or an 8th or 10th, and if Timmy just gets a top 3, he wins.
Yep.
So So I'm looking at it going, man. And I went back and I told Henson, I said, I think that front end locked up. Can you take the front wheel off? Take them both off. He did, and there was a bent spindle, or a bent rotor. So a rock got in there and locked it. But the point of the matter is, that's not what cost me the title. Title was I should have been better throughout the year. So it's okay. You can't win forever. That's just the way it is.
Of course. I mean, that's
and that's not taking anything away from Timmy. That's giving him full props.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I mean, nobody could take it any other way. That you're giving him credit, but you had been you had done it for so long. You had seen what it takes for so long. I'm sure like it was nothing but you just wanted to congratulate the guy. Like he was the one to finally break the streak, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then you got into some other forms of racing after the ATV days were over, did you not? Like some truck racing and stuff, right?
Well, actually I didn't. I got into that during the ATV days. So what happened, okay. I got a kind of a cool thing for you. So I raced the LA Coliseum on, Supercross there. So I jumped down the peristyle on a dirt bike. I jumped down the peristyle on a quad. Okay. And I jumped down the peristyle on a Grand National Sport truck, stadium truck.
Really?
Yeah. So that's kind of a cool little, feedback there, little stat. And I'll tell you what's gnarly. The quad, the dirt bike, you can see what you're going to land on. And in the truck, you see nothing. You got the hood. You don't even know where you're going to land. I mean,
sure.
It's really frightening to jump that thing. And I got Rick Johnson with, 20 inches of travel. I got like 12 in my truck. I was driving an old beater truck. He said, Denton, get out of my way. We're laughing. I go, you got all that gear. I'm going as fast as I go. But I almost didn't continue racing quads. I almost went on and did the stadium truck thing because I felt like I was getting older and I felt like I could make money and was going to go into that. But I ended up not doing it because they pulled the plug on the team. I had about a $300,000 budget lined up with sponsors, outside people. So I almost didn't, chase the nationals anymore at all. So I was real close. Yeah. So that would have been horrid because they shortly thereafter they ended, Mickey Thompson events.
Right. Yeah. So that is crazy. Yeah, somebody was looking out for you there. Like you said, you had so many times where the man upstairs was kind of, paving the way for you, or however you want to say it. But he had his kind of arm around you, kept you in the sport. So obviously we're grateful for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I guess you're starting to talk about the transition out of, the racing part. I mean, so did you, I guess I like to ask guys this, but did you know when it was over, or what was what made you hang up your boots?
Well, it's kind of funny, and I'll tell you kind of what happened. So I'm at, I got to remember that name of that track. It's down in Rio Vista, Cleburne, and I'm trying to remember Wolf Creek. Okay. I hated this track. And the reason why I hated it, it had these peak jumps and you'd land out on flat dirt, and it was just, middle of the field out in Texas. And
okay.
And Ted was a guy that owned the place. I forget his last name. Him and I bumped heads a few times because I thought the track was unsafe in some manners, but okay. I wanted it safe for the amateurs. I always thought safety was first thing for whoever was riding the track.
Of course.
And so anyway, but I'm standing there looking at this triple jump and you know, they had it to where we'd race a moto each day, moto Saturday, moto Sunday, and my hands are blistered and I'm going, wow, you know, and I'm looking at this jump, and maybe they had it 2 day, both in the same day, I don't know. But anyway, and I'd always walk the track about a half hour before we race, and I'm going as hot as the dickens, and I'm looking at this jump, and it's real peak, the third jump, and I go, man, it was bumpy, the face of the takeoff, and I'm going, you know, if I don't make this jump, man, it's, you know, I'm going to die. It's going to say, you know what it'll say? It'll say tomorrow in the paper here, man dies racing ATV and film. That's all it's going to say, man dies.
Right. Yeah.
And so, I thought, you know what? I'm the guy, and I'm sitting here thinking like this. I need to find a new job. And I always knew there'd be a business side. So the guy that sponsored me from Weekend Warrior Trailers, he gave me a trailer. We would become buddies. We play racquetball together all the time. And
okay.
He offered me a job, and I transitioned out and I went into RV manufacturing. We built toy haulers, and it was a little small company. They were doing about, I don't know, $3 million a year. And,
wow.
I took him, which is not much. $3 million is nothing because they're high ticket items. So he was really hand to mouth business, but he'd had the company for like 8 years. So I took him from 3 million to 7, with just some marketing ideas, and I had a knack for that with the dealers. I like talking to people. So I was able to take us from 3 to 7 and move from 7 million to 240 million at the height.
Oh my goodness. So, and I do remember that a little bit because I remember Weekend Warrior having some involvement with the races and seeing that at the time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's what was really cool, because we were able to do some really cool stuff. So we were able to sponsor all the GNC events, and we gave away a trailer. So they put their name in the hat if they won an event. Maybe it was sign up. I can't remember how we did exactly. And at the end of the year, somebody won a Weekend Warrior trailer. So that was cool. So we got to get back there. Yeah. And then GNCC, we sponsored their events, and we, bought Rita Coombs, gave her a motorhome. We got a really cool motorhome called a Road Warrior. I think last I heard, Rita uses it to this day and loves it. So that was cool. We sponsored all the Supercrosses. We gave it coach to the top privateer. So we did that. So we were involved, and we were it was cool. We were sponsoring NASCAR drivers and all the top motocross guys and McGrath, and it went on forever. I mean, it was just cool being involved.
That's very cool. Just because you were still doing more for the sport, even when you weren't there as a rider anymore.
Well, it was my passion, and the owner had passion in the same manner, due to the fact that, I would let him, not let him, tell him the stories and the stuff. And so he was engaged, and Mark and I had a lot of fun doing it. So it was cool.
That's very cool. And just in general, I have to say that it's one of my favorite things about you, because some people, when they walk away, they truly cut the cord. And with you, I mean, you're still, like, to this day, like, you're always posting old racing, photos from the racing days. And then you had Denton Racing that kept you on the ATV scene.
Right.
In the days, in the time after your racing career, like you just said, Weekend Warrior, all these things. I love that about you, because when it's in your blood and you truly love it, like we do, it's nearly impossible to let go.
Oh yeah. No, off-roading in general is in my blood, and whether it's ATVing or dirt biking or whatever, side by side, doesn't matter. It's just all cool.
That's awesome. And I guess I before we, we're getting kind of to the end of this thing, but
Sure.
I want to be able to talk about you being up for Hall of Fame induction. And this is something that has been going on for the people that are inside of the ATV motocross community. This is something that we know people are really lobbying for. So can you give us any insight into that, on if is this going to happen?
Well, I don't really know. Here's the thing. I'm honored, first off, just to be acknowledged.
And let's give it. I should have touched on that. I mean, no ATV rider has ever been inducted before.
Right. No. So I would be the first to be inducted. The Coombs family's pushing for it. Racer X magazine. Davey, his mom, Rita, Carrie, Joe, Timmy, all of them. Big Dave was a big supporter of mine. Love the guy and miss him dearly. Tom White just passed away, White Brothers fame. He was on, he's on the board. He really wanted to be in there, and he's an old friend. And Godspeed, love him and miss him too. But so I don't know. There's some great people behind it. Am I going to get in? I don't know. I'm on the board. I'm on the ballot, so I'm acknowledged, and that's cool. That's how I look at that.
And how can my listeners who are going to be captivated by what they're listening to your conversation, listening to your racing story, how can they impact this thing?
I don't know the rules. I think it has to be past people, and I think it's a committee, and they have to acknowledge that. How Davey put it to me is, he says, look, you're the Ricky Carmichael of ATV racing. How can you not be in there? You're AMA. You should be. That's his thoughts. Yep. And I appreciate those thoughts. The AMA has to just, they have to adopt it and say, okay, you're in, I guess. I mean, I love the AMA. Roy Jansen's a big supporter. I don't know. I really, really don't know. I know there's a committee, and I don't know how you're able to vote.
Okay. I wonder, I think that the general person does have maybe some sort of small say, or maybe they have a percentage or something like that, because I just remember them, kind of trying to get the ATV community together and behind, our quad father that you are. So I wonder, I'll have to look into that more, and I can post about it on my social media. But if nothing else, we need to keep banging on the door of these people that we need to get Gary Denton in there. So I do think it's inevitable. I do think it's something that's going to happen. We kind of had talked, the Coombs family, they're going to do everything they can to kind of, to make this thing happen. They're behind it 100%. So we needed to be able to talk about that a little bit. It's only right that the first ATV guy to get in is you, and hopefully you're kind of paving the way for everybody, kind of behind you, the other greats, like you did in so many ways in this sport. So yeah, we just needed to comment about that.
No, thank you, Cody. I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah. So how closely, Gary, do you follow the sport of ATV racing today? Have you been tuned in as Chad Wienen's winning 6 championships in 8 years, and now Joel Hetrick's won multiple titles in the last few years? So do you follow it somewhat to this day?
Yeah, I do. When I get to see it on TV, I love watching it. The guys are incredible. I mean, they're going rocket fast. I'm a big supporter of theirs. As I told you, I was, I mentioned that on Pulp MX that those guys match times with the best in the world in moto at the same track, same day.
Yep.
And I love what they're doing. The guys they're incredible athletes. They're super fast. They're riding top fuel dragsters. I'm going to call them the rocket ships.
Right.
And they're able to stay on them. And that in itself is difficult, and they ride it like it's nothing. So they're incredible athletes, and I love watching them. I love watching the races. I just think it's cool, and it's either Wienen or it's Hetrick, and you get Brown in there once in a while, and Rastelli, and I think they're all great,
Yeah, that's very cool. And I know that there's a lot of things I think you see in Chad's program that is very similar to yours, just
yes.
It's just years later. So that's very cool too. So last question before I let you go. And there's, you talked about the pulp stuff a little bit. We commented a little bit, but there's been a ton of this ATV, versus MX talk recently. So tell me, Gary, because so many people have been saying, coming, I guess, specifically from pulp, but there's so many people saying that ATVs are just like easier to ride. My belief, and you can we can listen to how this conversation went here, but my belief is that you were just a great bike rider and an even better ATV rider. Where do you stand on this? Kind of stamp this thing, because I've wanted to get you on the show for the year that we've had this podcast. It all came together. You gave us your time, and now you're coming on as these talks are kind of just simmering down. So where do you fall on this?
I'm gonna give you an analogy. Okay. So here's the reality. If you think about it, there's a heck of a lot more to garner out of a dirt bike because of the monies that are paid to them through the factories. There's no factory involvement in quad racing, right? So it's not a fair analogy in many ways to that fact. And so when I look at it, you don't know, and I've said this on the show I think today, but if you look at Wienin or Hetrick, how do you know that they couldn't have got on a dirt bike and won national titles? We don't. We just don't know. I mean, if they had chosen that path, so does that make them less or more talented? We don't know. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is, look at the lap times in Ironman. They match the moto guys, lap time for lap time. Now they're different machines, but that proves that they're incredible athletes. When I look back at my career, could I have won national title on a motocross bike? I believe so, if I'd been on a works bike, but I never got the opportunity. So there you go. But if I'd have rode only quads, and nobody had known that I had that ability for moto either, right? So
right. Yeah.
You really just don't know these things. So I think they're both great. I think they're both great athletes. So it's a toss up. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, you so perfectly embodied my argument the whole time, and you talked about it in your story that you were on the cusp of having one of those works rides, and then who knows what your path could have been. You could have made it in the dirt bike side of things. But what my argument had been the whole time was when Steve says that those top motocross guys are so talented and they're capable of anything, he's talking about the top ATV guys too. They fit in that same mold. He just doesn't know it. The guys you just talked about, the Wienins, the Hetricks, the Browns, the Rastrellis, so on and so forth, those top tier guys are just as talented. They're just ATV riders instead of motocross riders.
Right. Absolutely.
So
that's how I look at that.
Yep.
I think they both have extreme talents and extreme abilities. And I love both sports. That's just it,
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You're just such a great ambassador for ATV racing, and so many people are going to have just a whole new appreciation for you and your career after this, and I'm so excited about that. You're the man, and nobody would know about this ATV motocross talk more than you. So it's just so awesome to hear from you. Do you have any parting words for all your fans out there?
I'm glad I still got them if I got some.
Oh, they're out there. They're out there. Trust me. I've gotten countless messages for months and months and months and months and months wanting to hear from you. So they're definitely out there.
Well, no, I appreciate that. I like I said, the fans in the past have been great to me. I still, on Facebook or Instagram, I get some really nice posts. I get some photos. I mean, I got a picture of Steve from Pulp when he was 14 picking us up, him and I hanging out. I mean,
I saw that
in Winnipeg. I mean, it's so cool. And then there's a picture of me and Doug Demokas. I mean, Godspeed Doug, he passed away, but that Willie King, I mean, this is cool stuff,
Yeah.
So no, I've had a blessed life. I mean, I had a motocross career, I had an ATV career, and I have an RV career. So I'm very fortunate. Yeah,
that's so cool. And man, 8 consecutive titles, that probably will never happen again in our sport. Like you said, it barely happens in any sport. You're a legend, and I'm so glad to be able to get you on here, share your story. For the people who still hold you, there's tons of them that still hold you in the highest regard. And then the younger people who knew your name but not your story, now they do. So this is awesome. I can't thank you enough for your time tonight, Gary. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk again soon. It's been an absolute honor to have you.
Thank you, Cody. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Take care.
All right, buddy.
What a story. Some people call him the GOAT. Others call him the Quad Father. We are so grateful to call Gary Denton a friend of the show. A major thanks goes out to him for his time and willingness to join us. I'm excited to help make him more relevant to the younger ATV fans, and we know he is still beloved by so many. Thank you again to the 8-time champ, Gary Denton, for joining us. Thanks as well to my producer, my brother Dallas, who always finds time to fit the podcast into his busy schedule. Thanks, Dallas. Couldn't do it without you. And my better half, Brooke, who always is thinking on behalf of the podcast, just like the rest of us. Thanks as always to her. Thanks to our sponsors, of course, CST Tires, Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew, Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Numira Technologies, Wienin Motorsports, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Blenders Eyewear, Mountaineer Brand, Avocado Green Mattress, Roman Health, Factory 43, Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC, Oats Overnight, and this one makes us want to scream from the rooftops with pride. Thank you to Wiener Motorsports for partnering with us. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. You can find all of our episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links and discount codes, our show merchandise, and more, all on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, so check that out today. The show is available to anyone and everyone, whether on diggingdeepatvmx.com, or you can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. Basically, wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. Show your support for the #1 podcast in ATV racing by wearing our apparel, as I mentioned. You know all about our shirts, but now we have sick-looking hoodies as well. Purchase on our website today, with all proceeds going directly towards constant growth and improvement of the show. Thanks for all the support there. They've been selling like crazy. If you enjoy the show, we encourage you to donate via Patreon if it suits you. Simply visit our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, and click the Support on Patreon button. This contribution will help prompt continued growth and improvements of the show, and perks will be available to those who contribute, including hearing your name on the show. We greatly appreciate the support. And don't forget about your way to be a part of every show via our voicemail line. Whether you have questions, topic suggestions, business inquiries, a rant, or something you just want to get off your chest, call us and leave us a voicemail anytime at 920-569-3519. That's 920-569-3519. Thanks for that. Follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional behind-the-scenes content and up-to-the-moment breaking news during this crazy time. But for now, we can look forward to finally going racing. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, social distance, and keep that support coming while we keep the fire content coming as well. We'll keep providing content as high-quality listening material is more in demand than ever before. You know I love the screenshots showing that you're listening, so send those in and I promise to keep sharing them. It's a simple and effective way to help spread the word. So please subscribe to the show, give us a rating, tell your friends, share our posts, wear our shirts and hoodies. It all helps spread word about the show while growing the sport that we love. With that, for Gary Denton, Dallas Jansen, Brooke Catherine, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen, thanks for listening to the #1 podcast in ATV racing, 1 million downloads and counting. Until next time, thanks for joining us in Digging Deep with the Stars of ATV Motocross.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then at Steel City.
I would need to check this out.
I'm dead serious. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
It's not easy, Steve. It's not easy.
Listen, JB, I don't want to hear.
It's not easy.
I don't want to hear.
Quadlers are freaking gnarly.
You don't chew Big Red. What the?